What's up? What's up, everyone? Today is a special live, right? I'm going to be doing a special live. A special live today. Hopefully you guys will like it. I had a commenter, a viewer, who recently disagreed with me on something. Love it. I love disagreement. I've said this countless times before. Please don't agree with me 100%. Make you up your own mind, okay? Be your own person. So, yes. So we talked a little bit, right? And I said that let's mic up. Let's talk about it. Because we have a problem, right? After the Charlie Kirk thing, okay? The whole Charlie Kirk thing. We have, I think the most important thing is that we don't have civil discourse. We could agree to disagree. Agree to disagree. That's not the craziest thing in the world, right? So if we can't find common ground, the least we could do is agree to disagree. So tonight we will be talking about the Black community, because that was the video that this commenter, this viewer, had some interesting things to say on it, right? So let's get started tonight. All right, Phil. So,
hey, what's going on, bro?
What's up, my brother? What's up?
How you doing, man?
I'm good. Thank you for accepting this request to have a conversation. I really appreciate it.
Happy to have a chat.
You good?
Hear me okay? Okay.
I could. Do you have if you have the video playing, you should mute it.
It might be. Maybe I should put you in my. I'm using my computer.
Is this better?
Try it again. Let me see.
Yep. Can you hear me now?
Yes, better. Much better.
Great.
Good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so before we start, right, and you are someone who had a bit of a disagree, I mean, like a bit of a counter argument, so I definitely want to get into that. But before we do, right, I want to establish my views and my I guess my side a bit, and then we'll continue.
Awesome.
I want to say this, okay? You are a Black man, right?
Yes, I am.
Cool. So we always get all these comments, right? Certain comments of, oh, you're an Asian man. Why even talk about the Black community? I've said this before. I think the Black community is the coolest community around. And one of the things I've grown to can't stand is the hardship the Black community seem to be going through, or at least that they perpetuate on social media or through entertainment, through TV, through news, whatever. Okay. So that's what made me talk about it, make me speak out about it, because you know what? Again, my friends are Black. The community I work in, the community I live in is Black. I've dated predominantly Black women. You know, like I said, friends are predominantly Black. So whether I have even if I'm of a different race, I care. I come it from the heart of like someone who does care. So all my criticism is maybe, yes, it's not from a Black man, but it's from a person that does care, and from someone that I guess, you know, correct, on the outside looking in, and seeing what I see from the outside, I have certain opinions about it. Okay, opinions about it. So tonight, hopefully we will talk about it. Again, I want this to be a civil discourse, right? We don't, I
Absolutely.
mean, if we could agree, great. If we can't, at least we understand each other more. Okay. At least we understand where we're coming from. We could agree to disagree. We could, maybe grow from it. Maybe just at least understand that it's okay to be different. It's okay to disagree as long as we're respectful of each other, because I'm going to go about this as respectful as I can. Again, if we're having if it gets a heated debate, it happens, right? It happens. But please know that it always comes from respect. Always comes from respect and love. Okay.
I get that from you for sure.
Yes.
So I'm excited. I think, yeah, I've listened to you quite a bit, and I like your take on things. I think you're a pretty, reasonable person, and I think we're starting off on the right foot because we both agree with the framing. So I appreciate what you just shared.
Yes. Okay. So, but then let's get started. So, I didn't fool. I got the gist of what you wrote before, but I want you to let's start it with you, right? So you watched a recent a live I did, and you had opinions on it. So I would love to get at least some like 1 or 2 points before we could always dissect them as we go along, just so it won't be like if we could forget. Like if you want to know my viewpoints or dissect a certain opinion I had, this is the time we could just like go a bit back and forth, but in a respectful way, and to understand each other, to maybe get things more, cleared out. But Artie, thank you, my brother. Thank you for stopping by. All right, so Phil, go for it.
Cool, man. Yeah, so I think my perspective on the last video, or really what I was articulating, was that yes, there's some issues in the Black community, but what I found, especially with this post-Charlie Kirk discourse, is that there's a lot of attention and spotlight on the Black community in a negative light, and kind of what I see reductionist light. And I think that, when I look at some of the things that have been said about the community in terms of certain statistics or Black people making excuses or whatever the case may be, I just believe that there's more context to these conversations. When you sort of dive into some of these statistics, there's some erroneous formulations there that I think could be parsed out a bit better. And I think there's ways to talk about the challenges that are productive, as well as respectful of the experiences that the people actually going through them have. And what I've kind of seen, especially when I was kind of diving into like some of the stuff that I saw Charlie say, I'm like, well, you're using certain talking points and statistics that are painting the Black community in a negative light, or as a violent community, or reducing us to sort of criminality, when there's just so much more going on in the Black community. There's a lot more good than bad going on. And a lot of the challenges that we are facing are, in many ways, they're systemic. And so it doesn't mean that there isn't accountability. It doesn't mean that there aren't things that the Black community can't do internally. But I do think that it's worth having a conversation on how these things are framed. And also just ensuring that we are elevating and respecting Black perspectives as these conversations are unfolding.
And you know what? I don't disagree. And this is why I love, let's say this, right? Out of whether you hate or love the man, Charlie Kirk, one of the things that you cannot disagree is that he allowed, right? He wanted different perspective. His platform, sadly, he died because he promoted, going out and listening and debating different perspectives. And as sad as it was, I still want to continue that, because I think that's the problem. One of the best quote he ever said is, "If we stop talking, we start dying."
That's a great quote. I think
Yes.
it's important. I would agree with that. I don't think anybody deserves to be taken out because of their beliefs or what they've said at all. And so where I'm sort of focused on, at least in this post Kirk moment, is how these conversations are unfolding in the aftermath. And I've seen a lot. There's also just things that I've also seen that from a Black perspective in other spaces that are a bit disturbing, actually, that are a bit beyond just talking about quote unquote challenges that Black people have. You know, I've gone on to different channels and been in different spaces, and there's a lot of anti-Black racism. You know, there are a lot of things that are being stated that, you know, just plain and simple are inhumane. You know, I've seen Black people catch strays in the comments, people calling them monkeys, people calling them, you know, calling us the most dangerous and violent community. And, you know, there's language that is out there that is legitimately, I think, dehumanizing Black people. And so I'm not going to put all that onto one person, you know, or saying that, oh my goodness, this person deserved some negative outcome because of some of the things that they said. I don't think that's true at all. But what I can say is that through my experience, you know, in the United States, and also I've traveled extensively, you do find that there are these sort of subcultures, if you will, that are anti-Black, legitimately, and there's violence that is laced in some of these conversations that I'm seeing online. And so part of my criticism isn't necessarily about, you know, whether we hold or don't hold the Black community accountable. It's how that conversation is unfolding. Are we doing it in a way that's respectful? Are we doing it in a way that is generative and actually creating a space where people not only feel as if they're respected, but they know that they're respected? And I think it's pretty challenging when you're engaging with individuals and then they're coming back and they're saying certain things that are just untrue. So what I'm interested in kind of interrogating or even just bringing to the floor is like, can we get to the truth of the matter? And can we have a conversation as human beings, not necessarily about the Blacks, the roaming Blacks, the violent Blacks, the monkeys, right? The you know, most violent group or community, things of that nature that I'm starting to see that are coming out of you know, certain spaces on the right.
This is the thing, right? This is why I'm very grateful for you to come on and join me on this, because this is a thing where I get it, right? You get pockets of, let's say, all bunch of Black people talking together or all bunch of white people talking together. That does nothing, right? That only creates more divide. What I want to create is this right here, where we are of different races, but it doesn't matter. We come together, respectfully talk to each other, and try to understand each other, and try to, you know what, get a understanding and see if we can find common grounds, or, you know what, just at least understand each other better. That's what I'm trying to go for. And that's why I'm very thankful for you to come on tonight, because I think we could say a lot of things and to, you know, show a different, because this is why I constantly said, right? Civil discussion, civil discourse is dying, at least between each other's of different races. Yes, we have a problem that we can't talk to. You can't talk to a white man. You can't talk to a Black man. You can't listen to an Asian man. You can't. It's because we only think about the colors of each other. We only think about the race of each other. And one of the things I want to create this channel is, yes, I get a lot of pushback that I talk about Black people, but this is a thing where I do it because, one, from the heart of love, and two, is that we shouldn't care. We shouldn't care who talks. It's like, it's not necessarily about the image or the messenger. It's what the message. So argue with me or debate with me or talk to me about the message. Because at the end of the day, if you only care about what I look like, you are no better than the people you hate.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. However, I do think there's some nuance there that must be maybe interrogated. For instance, right, like, I'm not a woman, and so there are certain experiences that women have that I just simply don't understand, right, or don't have any kind of connection or experience with. And so, you know, if I'm having a conversation with a woman, it is going to be important for me to acknowledge that and to recognize that, hey, she's experiencing the world in a totally different way from me, right? More than likely, she's experiencing the world from a position of vulnerability in a way that I never will. Doesn't mean that I don't experience any vulnerability, But by nature, right, of how our society is structured, just the state of nature in general, women are more vulnerable than men. And so I'm going to make sure that I create a space where she's able to articulate her perspective and I can take the time to understand that and hear that out before I'm trying to come in and just tell her exactly what I think it is. And it doesn't mean that I don't have something valuable to say, but I think there again is sort of this respect that is important to instill in a discourse across difference. And so, we can even kind of shift this to race or culture, ethnicity, whatever it is, right? Like if I'm moving to another country, and I've lived all over the world. I've lived in China, I've lived in Germany, I've lived, in South America, right? If a Peruvian is having a conversation with me about some of the challenges that their people are facing, I'm not of that culture. And so it's going to be important for me to take the time to understand and to really hear out what it is that they have to share or whatever the context is before I'm inserting my opinion or engaging in a discourse that is highly critical of that community. It doesn't mean I can't have a criticism. It doesn't mean that I can't come to certain conclusions and bring things up, but I'm not from that community. And so I do think that no matter how you look at it, a big part of having, I think, a sort of like interracial discourse or community around these different topics is going to be important for us to acknowledge and appreciate our differences, but also understand that we are genuinely coming from different social, historical, cultural, linguistic perspectives. It's just reality. And so, I don't disagree that we can't have our opinions and, people across difference cannot be critical of each other. It's just how that conversation is being had and ensuring, again, that respect and understanding is at the foundation of that conversation.
I agree. I mean, this is a thing where I don't disagree, and that is why I really wanted to do this live. This is why I wanted to do this live, where we can have respectful conversation. We can find understanding, right? This is the point where hopefully you can understand me and hopefully I can understand you. So I definitely want, that to be a key to tonight's live. So, well, then let's let's get started. I mean, like you heard a bit about my views. I mean, you watched that live. What is one thing that you want to really point out in disagreement?
Yeah, so one thing that I've kind of noticed, and this is just across content, and I kind of noticed it in yours as well, is that there's this perspective that I'm seeing that, okay, well, Black people are Black people's problem, right? And that is not necessarily the entirety of the conversation. I don't think that it's simply that Black people are our biggest enemy or Black people are Black people's biggest problem. I think that there are pockets of Black communities that have some really challenging and serious problems that are rooted in, historical isolation, exclusion from economic opportunity, deliberate racist experiences or policies that have been imposed upon those communities, whether that's redlining, whether that's over policing. And so I think that, Black people, we are dealing with a really complex set of challenges that are just beyond, for instance, culture, right? That are just beyond, for instance, like us just harming each other. It's bigger than that. I think it's a little more complex than that. And so I think what I'm looking for is to just be able to parse out more of that nuance versus, again, just reducing Black people to these like tropes, around violence or even some of the things that are happening in our relationships. I don't think that these are just Black issues. I think that these are economic issues. I think that, we're dealing with a lot of global social transformations that are taking place that are causing many communities to struggle. And so I think where I wanted to kind of push the conversation was away from Black people are making excuses to what are Black people actually saying, in making sure that we're putting a proper light on that and giving respect to that. And then from there, okay, let's dive in and mine that a little further, you know? And I think if we can have conversations like that, it's just going to be a lot more productive.
So let me try to, if I could, let me see if I understood your point, or
Yes.
let me condense it a bit, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
are you saying that, at least not in totality, but the violence and crime issues shouldn't be the focal point of the Black community?
So that's not necessarily what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm on to. Like, how about like boil down to at least a good sentence? Because I mean, like you said a lot, and a few things I want to talk about, like the redlining thing and all the other stuff. But at least let's be a little bit concise so we can have at least a more a clearer discourse.
Got it. I guess my question is like, what isn't clear, or like, what are you looking for in terms of clarity? And I can
Well, okay. I mean, it's like, again, I mean, we can. I want to do things like kind of like section by section, bullet point by bullet point, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the crime part, right?
Yes.
I mean, then we go move to other things. I mean, it will make it really hard if we mix up a whole bunch of things, right?
Agreed.
So we could talk about crime, right? And here's my let me say my view, right? And then you see what's your thoughts about it.
Sure. I love it.
So I'm a believer that no, Black people is not. I mean, like I've said this before. I think the Black community is a cool community, the coolest community around. I don't think they're all criminals. I think that's a bunch of BS. Right? I would never say that. But here's my thing where, and we had this pushback, right? Let's say the biggest, I wouldn't say the biggest, but I say one of the biggest problems in the Black community is Black on Black crime. And here's let's say this, right? I don't know if you're going to say it, but a lot of people say the pushback for Black on Black crime. Why do you always talk about Black on Black crime? Why do you talk about white on white, Asian on Asian, all this other stuff? Because here's the thing where I'll be blunt. No other group, white people, Asian people, all this shit complains. And I'm not saying that all Black people complain, but I'm saying in today's day and age, the one group that constantly talks about racism, constantly talks about, let's say, the issues that the white man is putting them down and shit like that, or makes excuses, or push away accountability, is the Black community. So since the Black community constantly said, let me pull out my full argument, and then I'll let you talk.
Absolutely.
Is that since why do people bring on Black on Black crime? Because here's the thing: this is a prescription, right? Because you instead of saying, "Oh, it's a white man," I think most people view it as not. It's not the white man. At least in 2025, it's not the white man that's holding the Black community down. I agree. White on white crime is happening. Asian on Asian crime, all this shit. Crime is proximity. I agree. The issue is that people talk about Black on Black crime is because that is the actual prescription, or that is the actual issue, instead of focusing on, oh, it's the white man, it's the government, it's this and that. So why people say Black on Black crime is a big issue is because of that. If I believe if the Black community don't really say anything or don't complain, I'm being a bit blunt and harsh, but it's like if they don't say or complain or say the white man this, white man that, I believe people wouldn't give a shit. People wouldn't talk about Black on Black crime because it happens, right? We have white on white crime. We have crime is crime. But because out of all communities, it is the Black community that has issues. Well, since you have issues, here are possible solutions to said issues. So that is I believe one thing where, you know what, why crime should be a focus in the black community instead of, let's say, the white man is putting you down, or let's say police abuse, which we could talk about too, which I think it's an issue, but I don't think it's I don't think it's an issue. Let me say this, right? I believe even if we wipe out a police officer killing or abusing black people, I still don't think that's going to fix it. But yes,
I think that's it. I respect that point. But I do have to sort of come at it from a different angle. I don't want to necessarily say I disagree. I mean, my first question to you is just like, when you say that black people are complaining about the white man keeping them down, where are you seeing that, and what does that actually mean, and why are they saying that? I think, to me, that's the first question I would ask. Like, where is that actually coming from? So that's one thing. And maybe I'll let you answer that question first before I kind of get into my point, or my other points. But I'm just interested in your perspective on, like, why do you think black people are saying these things?
Okay, good. I mean, here's the thing where I don't know how old you are, right? But for me, I'm 40. So I came during the age, let's say the 80s, the 90s, maybe a bit of the 70s, where we don't have consistent, and maybe it's because of the internet, right? Maybe it's because of the internet, maybe it's because of social media, but we don't have consistent. And I don't know about your FYP, right? Your the algorithm for you, but for me, everything, in my honest opinion, right, everything you hear, at least by a lot of black creators, is that, oh, the white man this, racism that, the slavery this, Jim Crow this. It's either about racism, right? A lot of talks about racism, a lot of talk about white, and I don't disagree, right? Here's my we could also talk about this, right, later, a little bit later. Systemic, I don't believe that's true in 2025, but I do believe that there are racist people, right? But I also believe that, in my honest view, it's just jerks. I think there's a lot of jerks. I think there are a lot of assholes. I think there are a lot of just terrible people. So there's terrible people in all communities, but we just label them racist because, yes, they probably focus on race. But we have to agree that there's always good and bad people. But because in 2025, we don't need to label good and bad. We just label racist and I don't know, minorities in that sense. So I'm inundated, right? And this is why I talk about this, because I am personally inundated by black creators either talking about race or talking about the struggle of the black community.
Got it. And so, I think that right there is kind of where we can put a spotlight on it. And then I want to flesh out some thinking. So we are in an age of algorithms. We are in an age of being fed what it is that we are looking at and what we're looking for. And, I think what I've often seen in these conversations is that there's some ecological fallacies. And you probably know what this means, but like an ecological fallacy is where you're taking a subset of a community and you're creating a group.
I want to talk about that.
On a subset of a community. And so I think that, this is happening on multiple sides. Right? This is not just a thing that is unique to you or to someone of another race. This is a common fallacy that I think a lot of people fall into. Now, I do disagree with this idea that in 2025, racism or systemic racism is not a thing. I think that is
okay.
Yeah,
I didn't say racism. I didn't say racism isn't a thing, right? So yes,
systemic. I think that's what you said. And so obviously, like, you can look at these sort of like individual.
Well, I mean, let's say this, right? Before we, it seems like you might go on a tangent. So do you disagree that? Because I do want to finish the even if it's quick, right? Agree or disagree. Yeah. Right? I do want to finish. What are your thoughts on the black and black crime part? the criminality and that part. If we, because I do want to, let's try to make it a little bit more topical, right? Then we can maybe go on to like systemic or anything other. Do you think that's anything special, or agree, or do you have nothing to say?
I do have a lot to say about that, actually.
Okay.
So I think, first off, this notion of quote unquote black on black crime, I think is a misconception or the wrong way of looking at it. I think that, all human beings commit crime within their neighborhoods and their communities.
Correct.
Every single community commits crime against those that are in their community. So even the concept of black on black crime came out of sort of racist propaganda that was painting black people as criminals at scale. We're living in a society where, you've had literally centuries of propaganda and media and even policies, right, that are being passed around this notion of black criminality. And so this like dog whistle or this concept of black on black crime actually gets away from the real issue, because what that does is it reduces the problem to quote unquote an idea of culture, which is not really what the issue is. The issue is not necessarily that. It is systemic neglect, lack of social investment, poverty, and multi-generational disenfranchisement socially and economically. And so what we're dealing with are pockets of communities that have been left behind, pockets of communities that are experiencing literally like ecological racism, that are experiencing poisoning in their water. That, like, I'm from an area where, there's literally farms, right, that are spraying pig feces, tons and tons of pig species into neighborhoods that are inhabited by Black people, and the rates of cancer in those communities are just sky high. This is in North Carolina. You have issues issues in Flint, Michigan, where like literally you can find the quotes of the local officials that are talking racistly about the Black community and doing nothing to address water poisoning in those communities. You're dealing with communities, and this let's even kind of hone in on one specific community where this Black on Black crime issue is prevalent in Chicago. So, right now we've got the National Guard being mobilized in Chicago to deal with the crime issue, etc. Crime in Chicago is a serious problem. But why? That is the real question. And what is the genesis of that crime? Why is that crime being reproduced at a high rate within communities that are inhabited by Black people? And who's committing that crime? And so when you actually do research into what's going on within the Black community, particularly Chicago, around crime, and you can also start to sort of put that data into other communities and contexts, what you'll find is that like 60 to 70% of the crime that's happening in Chicago is what you would call networked crime. And so what does that mean? It means that crime is happening in these like concentrated, disadvantaged networks that correlate with poverty. Like, these people are socially isolated. There's poor schooling infrastructure. We've got racist local laws where schools are not being equally funded. And I've worked in Chicago. I've worked on the ground in Chicago. There are very few job opportunities for the people in these communities. And so, when you're dealing with a situation where 5% of the community is responsible for 60 to 70% of the crime, but then that's projected onto the entirety of the Black community, I think you're dealing with an untruthful framing of the problem, because the problem isn't Black people, right? 99.9% of Black people have absolutely nothing to do with the murders that are happening in Chicago, or the murders that are happening in any communities that are inhabited by Black people. It's literally 0.024% at a maximum of Black people that are convicted or involved in murders. If you just look at raw like murder data, right? And so when we have this quote 1350, right, and Charlie used that quote often, that is not an accurate statistic. In fact, that statistic is completely false, because if you understand statistics, 13% being responsible for 50 would literally imply that all 13% of that community is complicit in crime, which is a racist concept. It's a small percentage of the Black community that's concentrated in like hyper violent pockets of networks that are run by gangs that have been infiltrated by drugs and weapons and all sorts of other things that is producing that crime. And then when you look at the victims of that crime, generally speaking, it's other individuals within those networks. And so what we should really be talking about is, how do we invest in these communities to ensure that they have a proper education, they have access to quality food, they have access to mentorship and opportunities and apprenticeships, that they have access to opportunities if they were convicted of crime, particularly if they were convicted as a crime as a young person, right? We have very high recidivism rates in the Black community because Black people are blacklisted, right? Often as a result of being convicted of a felony crime. I've got people in my family that are dealing with that, and it's very difficult for them to find a job, right? No matter what they do. And so this isn't to complain, it's to just be very clear about exactly with precision what's going on in the Black community. And so, yeah, I do take issue when I hear these terms like 1350 or all Black people need to be worried about, you know, this particular issue, when there are thousands of Black communities all across the United States that are dealing with different contextual issues. And so we're not actually looking at that for what it is and looking at these individuals as the people that they are. And we get into this weird space where we're not analyzing what's really going on. Like, for instance, I'll stop.
Well, let's before we continue, let me say some things. You know, we don't want to go too far off the rails. I want to say this. There's a lot of things I agree with, right? I do think that the creation, okay, on the black and black crime is probably propaganda. I definitely agree with that. But and I you know, we could all look up the statistics. It is false that you know, Black people don't make up 50% of the crime. I agree with that. That is false. But again, my view on it, right? Wherever, let's say this, whether how much crime the Black community is responsible for, it don't really matter to me. What matters to me is that I believe crime is still a big part of the Black community. It's a big part in the way that it is a problem in the Black community. It is a problem because I've seen crime being a something that holds back the Black community. Okay, now I'm not saying that all Black people are criminals. That's why it's held back. No, but it is a part of the Black community that is, again, you said it, where you can't, you know, make the small part of the Black community the whole Black community. But here's the thing, where it may, I don't know statistically if it's small or big, but whether or not it's a part of the Black community that is one, a terrible image on the Black community, and two, it is a problem in the sense that, you know, I go back to what I said before, right? Where we have, and I'm going to preference this, that I believe in accountability, 100% accountability. Blaming others does nothing for you. Okay, blaming others, saying that an excuse that it's my life is whatever failing because of someone else, That does nothing. That doesn't produce any results. So why I go back to is that at the end of the day, as a community, when you say that you are hurting, you are failing, you are struggling, there are problems in your community, but then you don't see that one of the big parts of your community is what is it? Supporting or idolizing criminality. So one of the biggest, let's say, role models in the Black community are criminals, rappers, thugs, dealers. Those are usually the biggest role models, or they are the most known image of the Black community. Now, I'm not saying that we come out from racist, propaganda, but we gotta also know that when Black people do control their image, they still promote that.
But do
So
Black people control? But this is where we have to really be honest, right? Black people don't control record labels and media companies. In fact, there's studies that have come out that showcase that a lot of these record labels, even though there is demand for more conscious or socially political rap, those record labels are ignoring it. In fact, the origins of rap music were resistance. The
no, I
origins of
agree.
rap
Yeah,
music were, and so we have to be honest about why these things are happening. One, two, we have to be honest about who the main consumers of this kind of content are and why these consumers are consuming that content. White Americans, right? And this is just reality, are the number one consumers of
yeah, they
rap
are.
music.
I
So
agree. I
that's
agree.
one thing. Two, when it comes to, for instance, like gang rap or violent rap, a lot of individuals that are consuming that content are living in conditions that that content reflects. And again, that's not to say that those individuals should or should not support that content or buy that content or engage in that content. But I think it's important to really critically and honestly have a conversation about why. Because the reality is, most Black people, right? Now, I'm a Black man. I'm around very high achieving Black people all the time. And, I'm from a community that, really, if you want to paint it as poor or working class, like that's a reality. And there's so many different types of Black people. Black people are listening to a lot of different types of things. We have.
I agree. I agree. But here's
Sorry,
the thing. When I go back,
can you hear me? Sorry.
I can hear you.
Cool. So like, just to wrap up my point real quick, I don't want to belabor it. I think that, Black people are looking for different role models. In fact, if you actually are paying attention to some of the things that are happening on YouTube and other social platforms, there are tons of different Black leaders and different Black voices that Black people are flocking to in the hundreds of thousands, in the millions. And
I
so
do
I
think
think,
I do think the streamer generation is definitely an interesting departure from the love of rappers and stuff. So I do see stuff like that. I think what is it? I Show Speed is a definitely different kind of character compared to older
well, I'm not even
generations.
talking about that. I'm talking about, higher level things, people who are having conversations about how the Black community can improve itself and how we can sort of really put together solutions for economic independence and empowerment. And, when you look at like the history of Black people, it's a very small period of time where we've had these kind of corporatocratic idols that have been promoted by these multinational corporations. Before the 1980s, we had Martin Luther King, whether people disagree with him or not. We had Malcolm X, Medgar Evans, we had Fred Hampton. We've had so many different Black leaders, many of whom have been systematically murdered by the United States government and by white supremacists. And so I think we have to be honest about the level of legitimate warfare and attack that has unduly been committed against the Black community, as they have and as we have fought for our freedom and our right to be fully included in the American project. And so, I think what's often happened is like we hone in on this kind of modern moment without any historical context. And we also don't bring in the broader culture of Black cultural production, right? NBA Youngboy is just one artist, right? That
Mhm.
is popular, right? And
Yeah.
if you look at the niche, because, marketing is important to understand, like every artist has a niche audience, has a particular group of people that are purchasing that music and consuming that music. So when you drill into the consumers, for instance, of Chicago drill, right? These are generally speaking people that are living in those contexts. It's the same as in a Brazilian favela, right? We wouldn't sit back and say, well, racism doesn't exist in Brazil because it's 2025. That is literally not an intelligent statement. Racism is a huge part of the Brazilian project. In fact, the favelas were created as a push to push the darker skinned Black people into hyper concentrated domiciles away from the white population. And so within that, then they criminalized those communities as those communities were completely shut off from being included in in economic opportunity. So the literal inequality that exists in Brazil is astronomical. So we wouldn't sit back and say, hey, well, it's your fault and you need to take accountability for being born in a favela where there's rocket launchers and there's helicopters floating around machine gunning people, right, in cartel networks that have created a Black market economy in order to
Well,
survive. While those
let's
individuals, right?
uh, let's.
And
I
so
mean, like,
and then bringing it back to the United States. This is just a way of zooming out and seeing what's actually going on. I think a lot of Americans speak from a position of privilege, and it's not about white privilege, it's an American privilege, because the Black experience that you think you understand is invisible because you haven't actually been in it. And when I say you, I just mean those who are speaking of it from this like outside perspective without having lived it. And so, somebody who's lived it and somebody who sees it and understands the complexities, I know for a fact that this is not an issue of just individual accountability. That is one of the biggest misconceptions, and in my opinion, um, unintelligent arguments. And that doesn't mean the person making it is unintelligent. It's just a lazy argument because, again, you wouldn't sit back and blame people that are living in favelas, right, for their individual contribution to that situation. You can literally parse out the ways in which the government utterly neglects those communities, literally does not invest in those communities. Those children do not have access to a quality education. But because so many Americans live in a bubble and they live in privilege, they actually think that these places where there's a significant, profound amount of violence is somehow the same. They have the same opportunities as a kid that's living in New Hampshire in a upper middle class neighborhood. That's an unintelligent and a lazy argument. Wouldn't you
uh,
agree?
here's the thing where I definitely don't disagree that the world is very ugly, and if us as American are talking about outside the world, yes, we're talking in very a privileged point of view, entitled point of view. So, in my opinion, I don't talk about outside of the U.S. because honestly, I don't know it. So I do think it's an honestly, we have people talking about Palestine's all that shit. I wouldn't do it
Yeah, but
because
the
I believe
reason I
we don't
just to not I don't
know,
want
right?
to
So
not I don't want I'm not trying to like, cut you off in a disrespectful way. I just want to clarify why I brought that up as an example. I didn't bring it up as an example to because we're having a conversation about that. It's to give a perspective on like why that argument is intellectually lazy. Because I think when you're in America, you're in a bubble. And so it's difficult to have, it's like your finger is like right on your nose. So you can't really see the finger. And so I'm just zooming that out. So we have an example, an exemplar of a system that is very much often paralleled with the United States racial project. It's very aligned, very similar. if you really study and analyze these things. And so I'm just pulling us out a bit to showcase that the United States has similar structural inequalities that are far more vast than I think most Americans are aware of or are willing to consider, because of the things that they see in popular culture and on media. They haven't lived it, they haven't seen it, and they don't understand the literal like I lived in Camden, New Jersey, and I taught there. It is a desolate wasteland. There are no jobs. There are literally no easily accessible grocery stores. There is poverty. There is a lack of industry, right? Even when you look at Trenton, that used to be an industrial center in the United States, and now I used to say Trenton makes, the world takes. It's kind of ironic now, because after the deindustrialization of that community in the 1970s, there was a jobs collapse. And then when you have a flooding of drugs within that community, whether that's crack cocaine, heroin, opioids, etc., you end up creating what we call a social contagion. And that social contagion would affect anyone. And those kinds of things happen across race. Those things are correlated to class, economy, and opportunity. And so even in white communities, right, where there's opioid epidemics, why do those epidemics exist? They don't exist just because white people aren't taking accountability and they're just doing drugs. These are the results of social contagion that come after deindustrialization and a lack of economic opportunity. And the reason I brought up Brazil is because there are studies that show that when the Brazilian government invests in social services near favelas, where they're investing in anti-violence, they're investing in anti-femicide, they're investing in better education opportunities, violence drops by 20%. So this is science, what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean,
about different ideas. I'm talking about science.
Okay. Well, let me say this, right? In my honest opinion, why I wouldn't personally bring up other countries, because honestly, we can't compare, right? It's just different. It's very different.
That's not the point. It's just to give a perspective.
No, I do understand that. I do understand that.
That's it. That's all there is to it. It's not about honing in on that. Because the only reason I'm bringing that up is because I found that in these conversations, people don't have the perspective in terms of what's going on in the US. It's easier sometimes to see it somewhere else. That's the only reason. But to your point, sure, like we can focus this in on the United States, and we can focus this in on exactly what is going on here, because it's the same thing. Whenever there's social services and there's investment in communities, whenever there's jobs programs, whenever there's a concerted effort to improve these communities, violence goes down. But when there's
this is the thing I do want to talk about, is that
these are
I do believe that we have done. I'm not saying that we've completed, right? We continue, but I do believe that we have invested it in the community.
But in what way? Give me some examples.
Okay. Let's say this. I'm not saying particularly for the Black community. I say, like, let's say for more like disadvantaged communities, we have Section 8. We have many other government programs that's geared towards low-income communities that helps them survive. Section 8 is one thing.
Okay, that's one.
Yes. What is it? What is the other one called? I completely forgot. I forgot the other ones. Like government support is very crucial. We have that for a lot of our disadvantaged communities. But
because if we can't even name what these programs are effectively,
well, because I don't particularly participate in it. So I could always Google it.
Well, I think that's important. Like, if we're going to be talking about these issues, we need to know what we're talking about. If we're going to be talking about
here's why
about accountability, we have to know why, like, what the context is. Because if we're saying that it's only Black people's fault, or primarily their fault, that they're in the conditions that they are in.
No, see, this is the thing where this is why I said why I think I would not say it's only the Black community's fault, but I would say this where I look at this where you have to, before you worry about what's outside the house, you have to worry about fixing the house itself.
But that is exactly what Black people have done their entire history.
I don't believe, because look, here's my thing where let me no where I would say that it's not true. I mean, I'm not saying the history. Well, I'm saying in today's age right now, because you got to think about this. During one of their worst times, some of their worst times, during Jim Crow era, the Black community's economic power was growing. Marriage rates was high in the Black community. Okay, single motherhood wasn't that high. Wow. Now it is higher, right? Yes, and all those things marriage rate are pretty much very low. Okay, the economic rate is going down.
Exactly. You're explaining the issue. That literally, this is like, bro, like this is science. Any culture, whether it's white or Black, when there's a lack of economic opportunity, when there's a lack of your ability to be able to take care of your family, when there's an increase in crime, right, and criminalization, you're going to have a decrease in family structure. And this notion that Black economics were improving in the 1940s, that's a problematic statement. If
okay, wait,
I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the stats. I'm going to tell you the stats, bro.
I will. Okay, but we're going to. But I also want to. You know what? I want to expand this to have more conversation. So I want to include more other people into it.
Absolutely.
All right, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. So let's have some fun. Let's have some other people join in this conversation but please be respectful. Okay. I want to have everyone have a time to speak and talk about it. Right. So Phil, I want you to finish up what you were trying to get across, and then we'll have broke and then Artie. Okay. So let's be all respectful to each other.
100%. So I'll just say my last point, and this is kind of connecting this question around Black economics in the 40s and today, because I hear this argument all the time that, oh, well, Black people were doing better in the 40s and they're doing today and blah, blah, blah. There's some complexity there. In the 1940s, Black people were 10% of the population and had 1 to 2% of the wealth. And I believe their housing rate was like 22%. And there was so many federal programs that were rolling out during that time. GI bills were coming out in the for World War II veterans. I think literally like there's some ridiculous number where it's like just a couple of Black people even got those opportunities. We had redlining where Blacks were systematically restricted from receiving credit to invest in homes. And during that time, white people were 90% of the population, but had 97 to 98% of the wealth. When you zoom all the way out to today, you've got home ownership has doubled, right, for Black people. So it's 45.9% home ownership. White home ownership is relatively stable, right? But what's really odd is that Black wealth hasn't really shifted. That percentage has only shifted to about like 2 to 3%. And so there's some weird things going on there. In terms of what's really happening when it comes to concentration of wealth. You can track these things across redlining. You can actually track violence in certain Black communities based on redlining maps. Like there's a lot of things that you can actually track. And with all that being said, I do want to also point out that one, there are a ton of Black organizations that exist today that are working towards addressing these issues. There are organizations that you guys don't even know about, right? That are investing in helping Black people find homes, that are helping Black women, escape domestic violence, that are working with formerly incarcerated Black men to help them find jobs. So this idea that Black people are not loudly addressing these issues, it's not true. What's really happening is I think that there's just an amplification and a spotlight on the negative and on the complainers because, hey, anybody can get a microphone today doesn't mean, right, that that's representative of the entire community and what's really going on the ground.
Okay. All right, Berlin, what are your thoughts on tonight's conversation? What's up, my brother?
How you guys doing? I'm from Oklahoma, and both of you guys are making valid points, but I think we're kind of missing the middle ground. And one of the things I wanted to say to the gentleman who was just speaking is you're absolutely correct, but we also have to remember that whatever was done, things that are being done to us was done to the indigenous people first.
Absolutely
agree.
Absolutely agree.
The same thing that you're bringing up, I was raised on a reservation. 0 grocery stores, 0, nothing but alcohol. And so the same thing that kind of was used from Canada to America in this global genocide of indigenous cultures, even in Australia, now it's kind of have been done to us, because in our communities, everything, redlining, all that's correct. What the gentleman brought up about, the benefits coming to us as far as Section 8 and them using that to pour into the Black community. No, that's being poured in to destroy the Black community, because those things were used to destroy and break down the Black family. That's just the truth of it. So the thing is also at the same time, we got to find the middle ground, and neither of you are wrong. You just aren't finding the middle ground to get the clarity. What the gentleman is saying, DA, you're also correct, because we as a culture, we have taken on this religion that's not ours, and capitalism and Christianity are hand in hand. Us and Black people, our ties and our love of money is our detriment. We should actually have been following along with our original religion, which is the indigenous religion, and we should have been minimalist. If we had done that, we would be much more unified in the community. And we have to realize that this government does not have our best interests at heart. On a global scale, the degradation of the Black man and the Black woman is $1 trillion business.
I completely agree with you.
Because I'm in Germany. People look at American Black shit, whether it's positive or negative, as the world's entertainment. We are the world's zoo. And if we had switched the pendulum and become a humble people, a minimalistic people, then so much of the degradation that happens on the global scale would not work. Because unfortunately, as a culture, we make money, but we spend money. We are the #1 consumers, as far as we do not keep our money for shit. We make money, but we do not keep it. And you can look at other cultures, you can look at Turkish cultures, you can look at Muslim cultures, you can even look at Asian cultures, and they create the infrastructure to then come to the table, to the system of white supremacy, and say, this is what we need, this is what we want. And the system of white supremacy will yield to that because they have an infrastructure. We as a community do not have an infrastructure. We have,
I agree with you, brother.
We have aborted our children, and those abortions come over here to Germany for stem cell researches. We have given the hospitals our foreskins as everybody in America, which comes over here to Germany for stem cell researches, and also to the elites to do whatever they want to do with those weird sacrifices. We have to look at the bigger picture and connect the dots and see that just like they used to call us the N-word, 50 years ago, they called this gentleman, they called them rice niggers. They called Arab people sand niggers. But so we all have been degraded under this system. It's just that your community has made an infrastructure to now have a seat at the bargaining table, while we as a community are at the table like dogs and getting scraps, and while the indigenous community is damn near not even in the building anymore. And I'll land there.
And I just want to say one thing in response, and then I'll yield. I agree with you on just about every point. The only thing that I might diverge a little bit on is this idea that we didn't build, or Black people didn't build that infrastructure or come to the table. In the 1930s and 40s, right, we were building that infrastructure. We did have our own towns, and we were founding our own banks. We literally had access to oil. We had very successful communities. They were bombed. They were destroyed. They were burned down.
I'm from Oklahoma. I know exactly about the Tulsa. You're absolutely correct.
Even with some of our civil rights leadership, right? They were going to the table and having conversations with policymakers and really trying to push against the system of white supremacy to enable Black people to be able to operate within the broader American economy. And they were assassinated. Those programs and those movements were taken down. Now, what I will say is, I think that's what is important to your point, is that there needs to be a doubling down on this, because there is an awakening that's taking place currently. People can't see it and they're not aware of it because they're too caught up on the popular bullshit that's being promoted. But there needs to be a doubling down on the awakening that you speak of, in terms of what does it look like to actually create a group economic system? What does it actually look like to ensure that we have a proper leadership infrastructure within our community? So for instance, when children are being born, right, there is a village that is around them to ensure that women and children are protected and have the resources that they need to thrive.
We
Right.
have to let go of our vanity. We have to look at the Amish
Mhm.
community instead of laughing
Mhm.
at them. We have to look at the Amish community and learn from them and learn how to build
Mhm.
a real infrastructure. We have to look
We
at the Mormon
absolutely do.
community and see how they use Mormon religion to shield themselves from some of the degradation from the government. There's things we should do, but we're so busy laughing at other cultures that we refuse to see how we're so busy laughing at other cultures that we won't learn from this culture. You can learn a lot from the look. I can't even say the word without maybe the stream getting shut down. I got to say ooish community. There's a
Yeah.
lot of, but there's power in that. There's lots of things that we can learn from other cultures that we need a massive ego death as a community.
Yes.
We all need.
And I think it's happening, brother. I think that is
Phil,
already
Phil,
It's happening
Phil.
in minimum. It's not
Yeah,
happening in
it needs
bulk.
to, but what I'm saying, we need to double down.
Yeah.
And to your point, I think that, yeah, a lot of us are caught up on BS, right? It's easy, as a human being, right? You're going to get caught up in sort of like the sheep mindset, right? And I think that, yeah, a lot of us are caught up in that, and we've got to figure out, how do we break folks out of it? How do we get them aligned to new ideals that they can actually take a hold of? And to your point, some exemplars, again, around group economics, we had those things, they were destroyed. And so what we need to figure out is, how do we rebuild them? I think that our community, in addition to the indigenous
No. We don't rebuild it. We rebuild something different.
well,
Because
yeah, I
if we
think
try
that's
to
a better way of
rebuild,
saying it.
if we
I
try to
think it's a
just give
better
me a
way of
second.
saying
If we try to rebuild it again, it's going to get bombed again. It's going to get destroyed
it.
again. It's going to be taken again. This is why we need to. Okay, you. If this is what you want to do when we try to integrate into your system, fine. We'll be the gypsies of America. We'll
Yeah,
all
why don't
start
we
getting
just
camper
divest
vans and
from that
just
system?
hear me. Just okay.
I'm
We
sorry, I
have
don't
to
mean
think.
to.
No. We have to think different. If we keep trying to integrate in the way and they keep saying no, slapping our hands, no, it's not going to work, then we need to pivot.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
instead of trying to protest and say, hey, we are equal, like I say, I am man, we have to understand they don't see us as man.
I
So
agree with you.
fine, if you don't
Yep.
see us that way, we're going to do something completely different. And there's no reason why, as a community, we don't embrace trailer homes and getting to
Yep.
land that's not being used and start getting camper vans and getting RVs. And if we did that as an entire community and say, you know what, we're going to get out of these urban areas, we're going to be living off the land, we're going to go to the national parks. If we did that as a mass exodus, that's going to change the pendulum. We have to do something different. Us
You
trying
and
to
I got to
integrate into the
connect.
society is not going to work.
I agree with you 100%. And I think you and I have more in agreement than it may be apparent, because I believe everything you're saying is true. I think we need to divest from the
Well,
system. And I don't
here's
believe
my
in our time protesting and all that shit. It's a waste of time.
now, Phil. So let me before we move on to Artie, right? I want to let's be respectful and give the floor to everyone. Before we move on, let me say this: I partly agree, partly disagree. Here's my thing where I'm going about this differently. Where I don't think we should divest. We should separate ourselves, because this is the problem where we can't escape it. We are a nation of a whole bunch of people, whole bunch of different people. So and maybe I'm naive in this, right? Maybe I'm naive in this, but like, here's I want, this is a community I'm trying to build too, where we're just a bunch of different people, yet we are respectfully able to get along. And maybe I'm naive, and this is why I want us to be able to combine, to unite, to change this, and this is, I do agree, the change is that we make it where we can combine our resources, combine our ideology, try to accept or learn from other races, from other groups, so we can create a better unity. I think one of the greatest things of America is the diversity, and we are but now we made diversity a big negative in our country, and I think that is where we are failing. So, but we'll talk about more about this. I really want Artie to give his views on tonight's thoughts and conversation. So, Artie, what's up, my brother?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Shout out the DA. Shout out the you two gentlemen. I'm not exactly sure kind of really what angle to come at this. Y'all all have great points, but I look at it from the very practical scenario. I believe wholeheartedly that the issue with the Black community is accountability of self-actions. And here's what I mean by that. It's because for the Black men on the panel, right? I grew up right outside of Washington, D.C. So I'm no stranger. I'm 37, by the way. I'm no stranger to selling weed. I'm no stranger to selling drugs. I done did it. I done lived it, and I got out of it, right? Thank God I didn't, have to sit down and do no real time. But the accountability of actions that people take is the only thing that matters. And what I mean by that is because we can always come at this conversation from it needs to be a Black exodus, which will never work, and I'll explain that in a little second. But we all need to take accountability because there is no law, there is no federal program that makes women abort their kids. I get that there's tension, and I get that there's stress in the neighborhood due to a whole list of reasons, but there is no tension, there is no law or something that forces a woman to do that. The same way there's no law
But there's
that forces a
programs to
man.
convince them to do that.
Exactly.
That doesn't matter to me. Stop. That doesn't matter to me. That comes second. The problem with the conversation is you're addressing think of it like this. The story that you're telling me is 100% correct. There's only one issue with the story you're telling me. You're not starting at the very first chapter. You're starting at chapter 2, chapter 10, chapter 50, 11. It doesn't even matter. The very first chapter is self-accountability. Because I'll just say this. Y'all have all experienced stress. Which one of y'all have took another man's
The
life?
first chapter is the lady who's part of the KKK and building that community with the intention of convincing Black women to abort the babies. That's the first chapter.
That's not the first chapter. If a woman today walks in there and gets that horrible, horrendous procedure done, is it on the woman who started it, or is it on the woman who walked their ass in there and did it? See, when you
Alchemy-wise,
take it,
it's on the women that started. Alchemy-wise,
thank you,
it's on the women who started it.
thank you. That's all it ever was. The fact that and I don't want to approach like different angles, like a religious and a political view, but let's just take the religious step for just one quick second. The very first book of the Bible, like Genesis, talks about the creation of life, how it all unfolded, and how it tragically went off the rails. Just from that very point, anytime you have a choice to do something, no matter if you can go left, you can go right, you can go up, down, you can go rich, no matter whatever the choice is, you're going to have people who selfishly do things in their favor, which is fine and okay, but they have to live with the consequences. And the Black people as at large will never deal with their own consequences. And that's the reason why you mentioned, or one of y'all mentioned the Black Exodus. That will never work. You can give everybody
I
$1
didn't say
billion
Exodus.
today. No, what I'm
I
saying is
didn't say a Black Exodus. What I said is you're glitching. Sorry.
my fault. No, I stopped talking. If that's not what you said, then I take that back. But I'm just saying there will never be a day where the Black community at large forth doing what's in their best interest, because the individual will never do what's in their best interest. Now, the individual will always do what they can get away with, what they can try to selfishly get. And that's the problem. Because if somebody does what's
The individual. If you're talking about the community, you're correct. But at the individual, does change. There's many individuals who are different. Now the community, the culture is not changing, but there's many individuals who are having issues trying to get the culture to change. So that's
because they're
not true.
trying.
I
That's the
think you're
issue.
saying it and you just used the wrong word, and maybe I'm wrong. You
No, no,
meant
no, no,
the community's not, so you mean the, okay, go ahead then.
no. The individual can always amount to something better when they go about it themselves, when they step out of being in the community. The people who want to build the community up, they're wasting their time because the people in the community, one, don't want to build that community up because they're too busy robbing, stealing, drinking, smoking, like doing all the degenerate shit. For
It's actually
one,
not true, but continue.
it
It's
is
actually
what
statistically speaking, that is
I just
a
say.
misconception.
I'm not saying at. I'm not saying as a.
You're
I'm not saying
already, you're
percentage. What
glitching
I'm
bad,
saying is
fam.
all the different.
Let me. Okay, let me. I think I
Holy
kind of
shit.
understand.
You got to warn us. You came in with a good mic. I
Sorry,
was
sorry.
listening, already trying to hear him,
No.
and
No,
then you.
no,
So no.
Well, my
Maybe
fault. All right.
since he's glitching,
my
maybe
fault.
I
Can y'all
think
hear
I
me?
kind of understand Artie's views. I want to say this, right? I've promoted this always on my channel, accountability. I believe one of the issues in the Black community in general is the lack of accountability, is the lack of, you know what, trying as a community. As a community, we have pockets of, yes, like Phil said, certain communities, whatever, certain little pockets trying to make changes, but we don't have an overall trying to change, right? And I think that's the problem with the biggest problem in the Black community, where we don't have an overall try to change, right?
Can y'all hear me?
We yeah. Are you able to? You're good.
Yeah. Nah, I'm almost done wrapping up. I'm just basically saying, the largest issue in the Black community is one, everybody trying to fix the Black community. That's the wrong approach. Everybody needs to do what's in their best interest, which is live a better life. But we can't even get people to do that because, like I said, in the Black community, not everybody, but in most hoods, there's somebody who they're criminals to a certain extent. I'm just using that as a broad term. I'm not calling each person a criminal, but they're the people that kind of rule these neighborhoods. And because I'll just call them the lowest common denominator. These lowest common denominator people are the people that we always bail out. They're the people that we always go to bat for. George Floyd gets a knee in his neck, and Black people, the lowest common denominator, they tear up their neighborhoods, other neighborhoods, and all that. Like, it's the
Black
actions
people
of the
didn't do that.
individuals
A
that hold
small
themselves
group
back.
of protesters did that. To say that Black people did that is just
There,
not true,
I'm not
right?
saying, I'm not, no, I'm not saying, I'm not, maybe I'm using what I'm trying to
Maybe,
say.
I
What
think
I'm
you're
trying to say
glitching.
is
Maybe we're
that
having a hard time like connecting the
all,
Yeah.
dots of what you're saying. And what's a,
can you,
like I said, you're glitching pretty bad.
I don't,
Well, maybe I will
I
say
don't
this, right?
understand. I'm glitching real bad. I'm just,
No, your connection is going in and out. That's what it means. So
yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but it's just, it is what it is. Until you have the Black community as a whole leaving behind this mind state of everybody has to do, like everybody, it's not a potluck to get the Black community to do better. It's individuals doing better that consume the Black community. Once the
What does that
individuals do
mean?
better,
What
we
does that
will do
mean?
better. When
What does that
everybody in the
mean in
hood stop,
practice?
good, good question. When everybody in the hood stop drinking, smoking, when all the girls stop being hood rats, when all the girls stop deleting
They're
babies,
not.
when all the
Bro,
people in
not
there
all
start
the
saving
women
their
are
money,
hood,
stop chasing.
They're
fam.
not, bro. That's not
No,
true.
wait, just
I'm
hold
not
on.
saying
We can't have a
you're
conversation
missing
with
what
you
I'm
glitching, and
saying.
we can't even dissect your arguments because you're
Yeah.
glitching. Okay, look, what the gentleman was saying
I'm
is
not
correct as
saying
far as the
everybody's doing it.
person.
I'm just saying it's
Fam,
coming
fam,
from that
you're
place.
glitching, fam. So it's the art of conversation is not going to work because you're glitching, and when you're trying to make your
I
points, we
don't know
can't
what you're
even
saying.
really get it. So maybe come
I'll,
out and then come back in.
I'll
Just
speak.
just come out and come back in, and maybe that fixes it. Maybe even turn your camera off, and that might work. And maybe you'll that will take some of your bandwidth away, and then you'll come in clear. Try to come out and come back in with your camera. No, you got to come out, come out, and then come back in with your camera off, and it fixes the problem. Okay, I'll say this really quickly. When a lot of institutions do try to make improvements in the Black community, and this has happened many, many times, we have to understand that the police and the gangs work together. And there's so many times that when good, positive things are being built in the Black community, that the police will send the gang members or the people selling drugs or the people whatever to destroy that. So we have to understand this on a larger scale, that whenever men try to do or women try to do something that's actually a positive thing in the community, they get taken out, and they get taken out by their own people. There's many people that reward. Again, the gangs and the police and the jails, they all work together to promote this BS, to make young Black men live this thug culture, so they never can even get a passport because they got a misdemeanor and felony by the time that they're 18. They already have child support by the time that they're 21, so they can never even leave the country. And so they're already on a path of degeneracy to be pretty much fodder. We have to understand and connect the dots. So I understand what you're saying, DA, is like, but the other gentleman, Phil, was correct. When we try to create real infrastructure in the community, it's going to be our own kind are going to be used to destroy it. That's why I say we don't need a mass exodus. We need to take a few generations of just stepping away from everybody. And then after maybe 2 or 3 generations, once we actually have an actual plan of what we want to do and how we can integrate back into the society, we can. This is why my solution is that we should go to the reservations and discover our original religion again. And then by that, we're shielded from the government. And then there we can detox, because that's what we need, is a massive detox from this culture that we've been ingesting. This look at me mentality that we've been ingesting. We need to detox from that for about 2 generations, and then come back to the table and then integrate with the larger society. Because we should do that, DA, but we can't do it yet because we're too full of toxins as a community.
And that's why I called it social contagion, because these things have evolved and metastasized over the last 40 to 50 years, with the...
Wait, I got to Google metastasized? Hey, Oklahoma public school, fam. I have never heard that word. What does that mean?
Let me say this. It's like, I don't disagree that it will be a good thing to, detoxify. But in my opinion, that's something that I would say this. I think one of the biggest, which you probably kind of point out, is the lack of unity in the Black community, true unity. Because you got to think about this. You said that building communities, or like the ones that in the past has been destroyed, is not a feasible thing. But I think that might be. I mean, I'm not saying that the past is, of course, it's a true thing, but we've seen other communities.
Boys and girls clubs, things with real infrastructure, they always end up getting shot the F up. I don't know if you've lived in a Black community and spent time in one.
I think that's the problem with the lack of unity.
Yes, it's a problem because whenever good things are being created, those around you are being rewarded for destroying it.
But see, this is why even Artie said this, right? In the later on about accountability, right? We don't. I think there's not a good enough. There's no good leaders. There's lack of a community. In my honest opinion, right? The Black community is now
it's a huge lack of community.
It's a lack of community, but I don't think it's because it's not a direct result of a lack of accountability. I think that we're in an environment now where what we're really trying to figure out is, where does the accountability actually rest? Because it's a combination of things. There's structural accountability, there's policy accountability, there's personal accountability. It's important to ensure that when we're having these conversations, we're like being precise about what the burden of accountability is and upon whom. And so what my brother Broken Berlin is saying is that there are programs and Black leaders and people that are doing things to transform the Black community, but there are also outside actors that are literally investing in the destruction of those things through the vehicle of Black bodies. And so, like, yes, you will have Black people that are complicit in the destruction of their communities. But it is not because Black people as a culture are all actively, collectively doing that work, right? We have enemies, and I think that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be accepted as a truth. But it's like some of you guys don't want to see that. And you instead it's painted like, oh no, it's 2025. Yeah, it's 2025. This shit is insane. And so I think that what we've really got to figure out is, like, to my brother's point, what is the intelligent, strategic way of detoxing our mind from this cancer? That's what, when I say metastasis or metastasize, there's a cancer, there's a contagion that's within the community. And these things have evolved and escalated over time with the influx of BlackRock corporatocratic capital that's being invested into the destruction of the Black psyche. It's literally unintelligent to just blame all that on Black people. It's just not smart. It's not a smart argument.
Well, here's my argument where I don't disagree, right? There are villains, there are bad actors, there are people who benefit from the destruction of the Black community. I don't disagree. But at the same time, in my view, is that when we and again, of course there's many different, like you said, different levels of accountability. But when there is, let's say, lack of self-accountability and constantly view of the villain outside, you're going nowhere. I think, in my honest opinion, the first part isn't even there. There is no self-accountability already. There's
how can we hold them accountable when they have the firepower?
Because here's the why do I
hold on? Because again, this is our part. This is our fault too. But if we want to hold the people who are the thug culture, the terroristic groups, that's what they are. There's many Black people in these Black neighborhoods who are just trying to make it and live. And we have terroristic groups around us. But we can't do anything to them because they have the firepower and they have the backing of the police. So what can we do, the people who want to actually create a good infrastructure, or the people who want to change? If the women are siding with them, the government is siding with them, the police are siding with them, then how can we change and check this thug culture and these terroristic groups? What can we do against that? And even the church is siding with them, the Black church, because they have the money. So our entire culture, how do we, average Black man, not making $100, how do we actually change the pendulum when we have those 5 entities against the creation of a positive Black community?
No, I don't. Here's the thing, where none of us are gods, none of us are top tier, up there men. But here's the thing, where again, I'm not always saying prescriptions, right? These are cures to anything. But one thing I do always say is that we need to create a strong community where I think
if they're incentivized to destroy it, if we're if I'm a logical man and Phil's a logical man and Arnie's a logical man, and we want to try to do something positive for the community, and we have the thug culture and the gangs and the terroristic groups against us, we have the government and the police against us, if we have even the women in the community who are against us against doing this, then how are we supposed to do it?
You escape it. Plain as
exactly. That's what he just said. And I will say, I think that even when it comes to the women, it's a small constituency of them that are against us. I think we need to and maybe you disagree.
A small? I'd say it's at least half.
Maybe, but I think you could throw that number around on both sides. But I think the point that I want to make here is that you are correct. We have had a history of addressing and fighting against these issues and fighting to build something new, and we then have to deal with and face murderous backlash. Like, this isn't just normal backlash, bro. Like, I think this is not complaining, this is not escaping blame, it's reality. And that's why I brought up the issue of Brazil, because it's just an interesting example, right, of a similar issue. When you look at these favelas, there are cartel networks that run these favelas. So to sit there and blame the people in it and be like, oh, well, it's just their fault. Like they're not doing anything to face it and to deal with it. It's not intelligent. You're literally dealing with terrorist groups. You're dealing with a government that's coming in and machine gunning people, right, in the community, right? And so,
Yeah.
yes, it's a different environment in the U.S., but those kind of dynamics, those power dynamics, still exist, and it's just important to highlight that as reality. It is a reality, and I think that a lot of folks outside of our community do not understand the nuances of what's going on, what Broken Berlin is actually saying. They don't understand that at all.
Can
Well,
y'all
they
hear
don't
me?
have to. I mean, it's not their place to understand it because it's not their community. And we have to understand that they have their struggles. Asian, I have friends in China and Japan. Asian men are also having their own struggles, and they're also having struggles with their women as well,
Yeah.
wanting to be whitewashed. So, and not wanting them anymore, and not wanting the average Asian man. It's also happening for the average Asian man in America. So they have their own struggle too. We as a community can't. We have to understand they got their own shit too. And so we have to also we have to get off of our high horse and say, like, what will some people say? Like, oh, there's no other group of women who have been disrespected more in America. I'm like, bullshit. Do you not know what was happening to indigenous women? That still happens to this day. But our vanity is that we can only see ourselves. If we can look at the larger picture, then we can start aligning with those other minority groups and then maybe finding a common ground. But until we have our ego deaf, we are always going to be going into this circle.
No, I do agree that, what your point is like. Yeah, I think one of the things we're lacking is lack of a community, lack of getting together, lack of supporting each other, lack of being there for each other, lack of just wanting to, be by, like the brothers and sisters, right? Be by each other's
Yes.
side, right? Learning from each other. I think that is a big key that we are lacking as, just a group of people.
We should be creating our own public schools because the public school system is a shit show. There's no reason why there's Asian people in our community. There's no reason why we shouldn't have come together and figured out our own homeschooling system with both cultures. We love anime, we love martial arts and all, but we don't want to learn their infrastructure of how they were able to come here and create their own. We should have done that a long time ago, but we're so busy making fun of each other, busy degrading each other, more on our side than theirs. If I'm keeping it 100, we're more busy on our side making fun of your side, so we can't learn from you. And you all all you're doing is playing the system the way it needs to be played. You came here and white people shit on y'all and used y'all and killed y'all to build the railroads, and you guys said, you know what, we need to pivot or we're going to get erased. And you pivoted and you found a place in our community to say, well, we can make money doing the same thing that you all did in our community is the same thing the Turkish people have done here in Germany, which was like, okay, we just came here, the Turkish people came here, created. Now the Turkish, the aduna is the German hamburger, because the Turkish community they've infiltrated this white culture so well that now they are an integral part of it. And the Asian people of America have kind of done that in our communities, and they've used that to now come to the white people of America and have power. You can't knock them for doing that. That's smart. That's how you play the game.
I think agree. Go ahead, DA.
No, I think maybe you go back to what you're talking about is the ego, where I mean, we may not like it, but the Asian community is, and they are surpassing white people family per cap. I mean, by income. So maybe that's something that it's probably because of the ego and pride that you mentioned, that Black people do not want to circumvent or play nice so they can get above white people. And probably that is part of detoxing and just reevaluating your mindset and how you go about things. I do really think that the problem is we're not learning from each other. I definitely agree with that.
And you guys are about to come up, the Asian community. You guys are about to come up in the next 20 years because this K-pop Demon Hunter movie. No, like my little daughter has a crush on 8. I'm like, when did 8 years? Yo, it's about to be a pendulum switch. It really is. You think I'm just the same way you see cartoons where they're having like the nerdy white guys now being with the black women. We have to look at this and analyze this. It's going to create a different dynamic 20, 25 years from now. So 20, 25 years from now, you guys are already on the top most educated women, and the men are definitely creating their own, not outside the Asian gangs that are in our neighborhood. I'm talking about the majority of you. So 20, 25 years from now, you all will be in demand because women are going to want men with resources. So and now they're going to have the crushes on you because that's always been the only thing that held you guys back is that you guys weren't sexually appealing to most women. Now with this K-pop Demon Hunter shit, yo, I don't think how people know how K-pop is really changing the pendulum for the Asian community on a global scale. It really is. You think I'm joking, but 15 to 20 years from now, these young girls are going to grow into women and they're going to want Asian men. And that's what is going to make you all even stronger.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
we hear you.
Any thoughts on Artie? What are your thoughts?
Well, hold on. Am I better now?
Wait, am I right about that K-pop Hunter thing? Like real talk.
I think you're right too. I definitely think you're right because it's K-pop is like crazy boom, and I've seen a lot of black women loving it too.
But this movie is really kids are grabbing onto this.
Definitely, it's hooking the kids. It's like top viewed right on Netflix right now.
Yeah, and they keep watching it over and over. I'm like, how many times are you going to watch this movie? But I can't get mad because I used to do the same thing with Charlie Brown movie and American Tail. Like when kids find a movie that they really like, they watch it over and over. And I'm like, she's just sitting there when the dude shows his little Asian abs with the pineapple. She's just 8 years old. I'm like, yo, puberty haven't even started yet for you, little girl. Okay.
No, I get that.
The black hair one, the black hair one, she loves him. You know, the leader.
No, I get it. All right, Artie, you're so far you sound good. So I will let you talk, get a bit of screen time.
No. I was just trying to finish my thought. But how I was saying was ultimately it's the accountability. One of the guys mentioned, I don't know who, they was mentioning that I think was you said that the schools and the police and the government, even the church, they all basically in cahoots, correct? So if all of these things are in cahoots and any type of violence is done or any type of destruction is done inside the black community by the hands of other black people, that solidifies that the accountability has to be a moral code, some type of moral class, some type of different way of thinking that a black person would have to have so that they don't do these things, one, to themselves, and two, to the people in their community. Now,
it's called Neely Fuller the Code. Neely Fuller Jr. He just died 3 months ago.
I was just about to.
I agree with you, but what I was ultimately trying to get at was what I'm saying. Where the accountability is that black people have to have a better sense of community. Ultimately, me, you, the four of us cannot make that happen. I'm not saying that we shouldn't try to make that happen, but what I'm saying is your efforts are better suited, one, taking care of yourself as a black person or any person of any race, and two, getting out of that situation. I'm 32nd and I'm writing a book, right? And one of the chapters in the book I call CCC, or the 3 C's, right? Not color, cut, clarity, but I call it compel, comply, compel, or concede. And that's where we're at, especially in the black community.
Concede or conceit?
Concede, like walk away, like
okay, gotcha.
So that's where we're at in the black community. You either force somebody to comply with what you need, and black people as a whole aren't really going to do that. We'd much rather do that to each other. True. By and large. I'm not saying all of us. You either compel somebody, and that's more of the system that I agree with, which is like bartering, trade, doing business, stuff like that. But you have to get what you need, and you have to give something in concession, or you just concede and walk away. Now, a lot of people, when they hear that, they think concede is just giving up, but concede is actually a viable tactic, because when you concede, you actually take the power back from the powers that be, to a sense, because you walk away from it. And when I say you
Yeah.
concede, I mean you walk away financially, you walk away morally, you walk away with your time, you walk away with your presence, and you do all of that to better suit yourself. Now,
The
if
office space, so the office space scenario, just sometimes you just got to give up, and when you give up, you'll actually get more benefits.
yeah, by and large. Now, y'all always mention the Amish. Now, for y'all who don't know me, right, I do pot the balloon reviews, right? And I'm branching out into other content, but one of the things that I hear a lot of people say is like a lot of the contestants on the show, right? They have this kind of sense that they always love to travel. They always have this, and I'm just using travel as an example. They always have this sense that they need the luxuries, the extremities out of life. Until we bleach that out of our mental state as a community, which we never can, because half of us are going to be morally based, and the other, I'm not going to say half, let's just say some that grow up in neighborhoods, that aren't pleasant, they're not going to be as morally high character wise. They're always going to have this need for luxuries, gifts, trips, the amenities of life. And although that's cute and fine, and I want that for people, you're not owed that at the end of the day. So you have to grind and do something for it. And so many, I just believe, in my honest opinion, so many of us as Black people, because I am Black, right? So many of us don't want to do that. And I've always said the only true, really Christian type people left here on this earth was the Amish community, or is the Amish community. And I don't know what they think religiously. I don't know how I'm pretty sure they have their own infighting and beef with each other, but they're the only people from the outside, and this is all just an outside look, a window shopping look. They're the only people who actually take care of one another. They live off the resources that they can obtain for one another, and they actually sit and teach one another the things that actually need to be taught. The women don't have a sense of, I'm not going to do this for him. He need to buy me a Birkin bag and this, that, and the fourth. And the men don't have a sense of, I'm gonna just run through these holes in this reservoir, or I'm gonna run through these holes on this open playing field. I'm like, what I mean? They don't have that sense either, because the guys do this shit
Christianity
too.
is supposed to be poor. Christianity is supposed to be insanely humble. But what's happening
Exactly.
is
That's
there's
where it
this new
started from.
it's the new Masonic Christianity ever since the King David version. That's the Masonic. Those are Masonic Christians.
That's the issue,
and
and
that's what's killing us.
that single-handedly is the issue. And now I'll go a step further with it on the Christianity tip. These Black people in the Black people, these Black churches, they gotta go.
Yes, they do.
They don't have to go, but pack them all up. The
And
reason they gotta go,
anyone
not
that
by
pledged Divine Nine in the fraternities and sororities, they don't have to go, but they need to be put aside while we actually create this idea in this community and kind of leave them on the outskirts of it. Anyone that made the pledges. So this means a lot of our Black leaders that we think that are the Black leaders, they're all connected to the government and the Masonics and the Divine Nine. Booker T. Washington, Thurgood Marshall, Malcolm X, unfortunately, was a Mason. All of them, all of these leaders that we put on they are not our leaders. They weren't our leaders.
That's the reason why I said the accountability part, because when black people are so hung up on these names and these titles, when people hear those names that you just mentioned, only because I'm trying to get deeper in the research to this, they don't look at like who backed these people. They don't look at how MLK's best friend or MLK's closest friend was an openly homosexual guy, and the ties that he had.
That part doesn't matter. It's a part.
No, but I'm just saying the things that when you actually do, because you seem to have knowledge of it. I'm just saying the things that people don't have knowledge of, and they blindly follow these people because they're sent to us from whoever the hell sent them.
Because they're our idols.
Well, here's a question then, guys. It's like, okay, well, this is a chicken or an egg question, right? Like, if 17% of Black 8th graders in DC, because you're from DC, Artie, I used to work in DC back in the day. If 17% of Black 8th graders are proficient in reading, how are we going to get our people to become conscious of these really nuanced historical ideas or things that we know? right? Or
Walking away from the
do
public
that.
schools and
Hold on,
homeschooling.
hold on. I'll give you that.
How do
I'll
we
give you
do
that.
that?
Unfortunately, that's the 2.0 problem. You have to address the 1.0 problem. These kids are already born into a system. They are, like they have no control of being born into the system. We have to address the earliest people we can address and actually have them produce good fruit in and of themselves physically and mentally. Then we can start to produce good later on down the line. If there's it's seven, if that statistic is correct, and I'll just take it at face value, right? That statistic is correct. Those kids are already cooked. One, they grew up in, they're growing
No,
up. Hold on. They're
okay.
probably are. Not saying that they can't be changed. Not saying that we shouldn't do
Okay.
nothing to try. I'm just saying for the meantime, they're
They
cooked.
own the skillet.
Right.
Yeah, they're on the
They're on
skillet.
the
They're cooked.
skillet. They're on the
So
skillet.
we need to all your time and all your time, your energy is best suited at trying to address the most root problem. You get down to that and start doing that the correct way, then you will start to reproduce fruit correctly. It doesn't matter if you have a tree and it's supposed to produce apples and you feed it every chemical to try to boost it and it ain't working, it's producing purple, yellow, and lime green apples, and the same damn apple is tearing up the tree until you throw all of it away, everything down to the damn soil and start there. Then you will start to build upon everything. Now
So
it's
what
going
does
to
that
hurt.
practically look like? What does it mean? What does that
Now
look like?
here, exactly. I'm glad you asked. I don't know. I know where the problem is.
Artie, I was really excited for
Wait,
a
no,
minute, man.
I have an idea.
You said I'm glad you asked. I don't know, man.
I
That
was
ain't
No,
so
really
hear
gangster
me
excited
out.
shit.
for a
Hear me
minute,
out.
man.
I'm
I
God
was
moved,
ready
right?
too. Man, my
Me
ears
too. I
were
was on
perked for
I
this
know.
shit.
answer, weren't you?
Oh,
And y'all say amen too. You know what I mean? I don't know, but here, just follow me for a second, right?
No, you
I'm
said you don't know. No, okay, all right, I'm
no,
following you.
now go ahead,
I
Artie. Go
don't
ahead.
know. I know where the problem starts and I know where to bleach the problem first. I only know what to do first. Everything you said from that, remember I said you have the book correct. I only know the first chapter. You start there, we can go, I'll follow you. Just start here is what I'm saying. The moment we start here, we tackle these, we go around everywhere. We tackle this issue. Now, how we tackle it, I don't know. But once we tackle that issue, we will start to produce fruit. We will
I'll
start to
tell you
produce.
exactly how to do it. We as a community need all these people who are Black content creators who are doing reactions to Kevin Samuels. And hey, I have nothing against Kevin Samuels. He helped a lot of people. He got taken out because he was always bringing about that we need to create a new Black media. That's why he got sacrificed. That's a whole nother story. If the solution is we as a community get our young kids and we start watching hip hop cartoons and we start discussing with white people, with Asian people, with other communities, what Neely Fuller is saying, and not to the extent of trying to have an argument, but to have a discussion, because Neely Fuller's the code is more comprehensive than a Bible. Neely Fuller's the code is so simplistic and logical, it cannot be denied. That's how we start. I'm not trying to make him the Jesus or anything crazy like that, but I'm saying his code book.
Well, look, I'm here with you. I agree with you, but the only unfortunate thing is, one, he didn't finish his code book for real, and two, let's just say we start there. You have to get rid of this overseer of the gangs and all that. Now, how do you bleach out the gangs? Because
We
us
can't.
three, us.
We have to. They're too strong. We have to separate completely from the community because
Okay,
the
so you
gangs
now
are too strong.
on that
That's why
three
we need.
seat.
That's why we need to go to the reservations humbly. Because let's
Okay,
keep it
thank you.
100. The
All
five
right, now
civilized tribes are the tribes that were used to eradicate the black-skinned indigenous people. That's why they were called the
now
five
we locked
civilized
in.
tribes. So now
Now
we
me
go
and
to
you
those
are locked in.
reservations and say, look, we lost our mother tongue. Your religion is probably the closest religion that we can find to our original religion. So we are coming to your reservations and we are bringing infrastructure. We're bringing money. We're bringing whatever we can bring in a humbling way to rebuild your reservations, because the people who are actually on the top of the reservations are not putting the money on the reservations. I've lived on reservations. They're horrible. They're worse than the hoods. So we all think that all the indigenous people, well, they get money every month, so they're doing great. No, they're not. So we, as the community who want a different community, need to leave our urban communities and go into that community humbly and rebuild it in a way that they're happy. And then from that, we get the benefits of their happiness and finding and detoxing. And then we come out of their community and then try to rejoin the Asian community and the other communities with a real plan and real infrastructure.
So, Broken
Okay, I
Brilliant,
agree.
I got a
I'm
question
with
real
you.
quick. I just
I'm
got a
with you.
quick question. So, I don't disagree with you, but there's two questions. One, most Black people, though there is a growing consciousness around this, are not going to align with some of these historical facts around their indigeneity. Like, that is a question. That is an issue that is, the government's not with that. Most Americans are not going to be with that. They're going to look at a lot of Black folks like they're crazy for even having that.
They can't leave their Christianity. I get it.
They can't.
But
Now,
so leave them be.
And then the last point and the question I have is, let's just say that there is a constituency of Blacks that we are able to convince or cultivate to make this move.
Mm-hmm.
Is the government going to be against that in any way?
Probably, but when you have religious exemptions, they can't do much against it. That's the beauty of it. The same way that they can't. Indigenous people are shielded from family court and the child support. When you have religious exemption, then either the government's going to have to completely do it on the paper where the world can see, and then the world can see, wow, this government is truly against these Black people trying to improve. We have to either make them really call it out, because if we do it this way, we have exemptions from a lot of the degradation. We won't be taxed. We'll get the benefits, but we're using the benefits to improve a community.
All right. Let's give someone else some spotlight. My brother AJ,
Devil's
what
advocate.
are your
What's up,
thoughts?
man? What's
your
going
thoughts?
on? Yeah, man. So I think it's funny that before the whole civil rights thing, because my mom's from Alabama, so my dad's from Arkansas, and then his family moved to California. So remember, during Reconstruction to the Civil Rights Act, you had segregation, and then you had the Black part of town looked like Chinatown, right? All the doctors, the nurses, everything was all Black. Black people were the most married. We were 80% married. We didn't have a lot, but we were building. And then, so what happened? Integration had happened. And I always say that integration was the worst thing to happen to our people, right? Because just like baseball, we had the best baseball players, and then they integrated baseball. All the best baseball players, they were owned by Black millionaires. All the best players went to the white leagues, right? And then the Negro leagues went out of business. We know how to have a good community. We haven't had one in about 40, 50 years, but out of necessity, and think about it. If I ask you, when was the best time to be Black? A lot of people say, oh, the Harlem Renaissance or Black Wall Street, all these things where we were actually in the pressure cooker of discrimination, right? And other things to where we had to rise up. Now, we've had 40, 50 years of quote unquote freedom, right? And now people are free to succeed and they're free to fail, basically, right? And I would say that the majority of working class, look at Black men, 54% of us single, childless, 30% married. Yeah, 16% of the men are having sex and having all these kids, right? They're still the majority of Black Americans, of us Black Americans are.
You said 50% are doing what?
54% of Black American men are single and childless.
Okay.
That's true.
30%
Yeah, that's true.
are married.
I thought you said it was the other way around. I thought you said 54%.
16%.
Okay.
30% are married. 16% are responsible for these bastard kids out here.
That is true.
So
Yeah,
what I'm saying is we
Stones.
take such a fatalistic look of all the communities busted. We just don't actually see you take a white guy can look at Trailer Trash Tammy and not identify with them, right? Asians have their trash group too, right? But they don't identify. we're the only ones who don't identify that there's a black middle class, working class, upper class, or whatever. We say that if that bottom 5, 10, 20% is doing bad, we're all down bad. What I'm saying is that people like Broken Berlin, you're a smart dude. Artie, you're a smart dude. Me, we need to all come together, consolidate cultural, economic power, and then ostracize the people who aren't our level. You know what I'm saying?
We can't ostricize them.
Yes,
we just
we
have
can,
to walk
because we
away
used to
from
do
them.
it.
We don't
Because,
have the power to ostracize them.
Well, here's the thing. We used to do it all the time.
We'll get shot the fuck up trying to ostracize them, sir.
No.
I ain't getting shot up.
But ostracize just means that you leave them alone. That's what ostracize means.
Okay.
They're
all
over
right.
there
Okay.
taking each
But
other out.
ostracize means you're yelling and chastising them. We need to just pivot and not even. Okay.
No, ostracize means you're shutting them out.
You can't.
Shutting them out from what?
From us. Let them deal with them.
What does that mean, though? AJ, what does that mean?
Ostracize, it means you exclude them. They are not
exclude
part of
them
us
from
anymore.
what?
From our culture,
the community,
from our existence,
That's
our
the culture, sir.
Huh?
We're trying to break away from our culture to rebuild a new culture.
Exactly. So
we're not ostracizing them. If anything, we're going to be ostracized from the culture by them.
Oh well, so they're doing us a favor.
Okay.
Oh darn! Oh Nug's not gonna be around me anymore. Oh, I'm gonna cry myself.
It's not. It's bigger than Nug, sir. It's also the church. It's also the.
Okay,
you're making it seem like it's all a bunch of pookies. It ain't all a bunch of pookies.
These
man.
are institutions. The
you
gangs
can
are.
say that. Here.
AJ. Gangs.
You
are
said Nug. Like, I don't know no educated dude named Nug.
Listen.
Okay.
I'm in my 44 years on this planet. I can say that I've never done the whole black community thing because like Star Trek, Star Wars, I was never stereotypically black, right? So I was always a free thinker doing my own thing, right? I was one of those kids where they said, "Oh, you're not black enough. You talk white, whatever." And that's when I realized that people like all the guys on this panel, we have to realize that us being black, there is no way that we talk, walk, or whatever. It's just what we are, and we can define it for ourselves. I've chosen to educate myself, be successful, right, and then surround myself with people who look like me, who think the same way.
Why only surround yourself with people who look like you?
I never said only. Did I say only?
I thought you did. My mistake. Maybe. Okay.
No,
I mean,
I'm pretty sure you did say only.
No. I never said the word only. Only never.
Damn, you really did.
No, I know.
Okay, I mean, fine.
Red Door Woman in the chat. Did I say only? No. Okay. So my point is, because guys, I grew up. I have friends that are black, white, or whatever. But what I'm saying is that the blacks that I hang out with are all successful people. Because I just can't deal with any foolishness. And what I'm saying is that back in the day when my mom, she was growing up in Selma, Alabama, their community didn't allow any foolishness. It was not a thing at all. So something changed, whether it was shame has gone, whether we've just shifted to rewarding foolishness. We've known how to do this. It's only been the last 50 years where things have gone down the toilet. But if you go to look at Harlem in the 1920s and stuff, look at how they were acting. There was no crime. There was no gangs. This is a modern problem.
Well, there's no healthy black male patriarchy in our
community. Not at all. Not at all.
There's no leadership. The head was cut off the snake 50 years ago. And so, and then the head continues to get cut off the snake. So we got to either do something new, like my brother Broke in Berlin is saying, or B, probably end up in the same scenario over and over again.
Yeah.
No.
Well, we do need to let DA read his super chats, though. There's been some people who dropped some super chats that we should let them read.
No, it's okay. We don't need to read it. It's all good.
Man, you better read. They paid money for that, man. You better do that. Shit.
No. It's
but I think that the whole So relying on other communities to help, to fix our problems is not the best way to do it when we have enough resources, brain power. We have that. So within this community to fix it, it's just going to actually take action. And also figuring out, once again, what works, what doesn't work, and cutting out what doesn't work. And right now, we have the Black communities a gynocratic matriarchy. And until that stops, I'm pretty much done. I just do my own thing, because people aren't going to really, it's going to take a reaction. It'll take some type of like rock bottom, which surprisingly we aren't at yet. I don't know what it's going to be, but something's going to have to change. But until then, if you're successful, if you're Black, if you're out there doing your own thing, just think independently, be as successful, set an example, be the example that you want to set, and you're just chilling. That's what I do. So
no, I do think that this is, I think things like this, our panel, right? Us talking about being respectful, like showing like love and respect to each other, putting ideas, having a conversation is extremely powerful, in my opinion. And I definitely think that all the Black men here are like, I think, prime examples of trying to be change, trying to be away from the stereotype, away from like the toxicity of the community. And I think that's a great step. We don't have enough promotion, right, of the greatness of the Black community.
Well, one of the things that tends to happen in panels like this, and this is why I try to not be in a lot of predominantly Black panels unless there's all men, is because there's a lot of times you'll have like three women on there, and one of them feels attacked and will crash out and then make one of the guys white knight, and then everything just goes down the toilet. So like I just met Broken Berlin. Like we can have a disagreement and just agree to disagree, right? Fine. But I've been on panels back in the day where some chick is just crashing out and and you say this about women, and then they don't like seeing men have good discussions. They want me and Artie and Broken and Phil coming at each other and want chaos. It just drives me insane.
Yeah, but the men are doing the same thing, family. There's many times I've been threatened all types of ways just by either not even challenging someone's thoughts, but just trying to either understand it, get clarification. And us as a culture, Neely Fuller speaks about this. He says we need to avoid conflicts, and he says we need to avoid each other unless we're coming together to have a productive conversation. Anything else, we need to kind of, And he's absolutely correct. And I see it on these panels when it's Black guys. Whenever I hear the N-word coming out, I already know the conversation is about to get really out of pocket, because the N-word logically means less than a man. You can do some really jacked up things to an N-word, but you wouldn't kick a dog, but you can kick an N-word. The N-word is someone that you can do the worst things to because they are not equal to a man. That is the logical definition of it. This is why when you see people fighting, they're even called. You might see two Asian people fighting, and they might be calling each other the N-word, because the N-word logically means someone who is less than a man. I can do these things to you because you are not. I don't see you as a human being anymore.
Well, here's the thing. There's a couple of things that drive me nuts about panels that are kind of like the ones Broken Berlin's talking about. Number one, do you see how Broken Berlin made his point? He was concise, right? It wasn't a diatribe. He was actually making his point. He was clear. He was concise. A lot of times, especially like millennial Black men, Gen Z, they do this long monologue, and then you're trying to ask him a clarification question. Well, you interrupting me, dog? I'm trying to get my dude. You've been talking for 25 minutes, and also Broken Berlin made 2 points. These guys will make 17 points. And you're like, hold on. Why you interrupt me? He's like, I can't address 17 points at the same time. Please, let's go point by point, right? And then the other thing is using an analogy. All right, so let's just say that you're trying to fix a car. Why are we talking about cars, man? I'm trying to stay on the topic. It's like I'm trying to use an analogy so you understand my point. It's just critical thinking just seems to be absent from a lot of these panels, and I think that's why a lot of the men who really have solutions or have like want to have deep conversations tend to avoid these panels, is because it's like you're speaking Greek every now and then, you know? So
No, that's the important.
I've been a career bartender. I got to make my quick point. No, but I think this is actually something that I think everyone needs to spend at least a year of their life bartending. Not because about making the drinks. It's about learning how to hear people, hear what they're saying, interject quickly, make a point, and then let their conversation continue as you kind of, I don't want to say guide or mold it, but you kind of are. And even you can be devil's advocate. You know, you have a sound effect as I say your name, right? You can be devil's advocate in the conversation to make not conflicts, but to make playful arguments that can come full circle. And that's my only goal in these kind of things, is always to let the conversation go full circle. And in our community, it's unfortunate that we can't do that, because you ever seen the movie Great Debaters? The Great Debaters. We need to rewatch that movie over and over and over and over again, because we have these conflicts with each other that will turn into violent altercations so quickly. My pawpaw said that sometimes you got to understand, when you're dealing with your own people, your skin tone, he called them skinwalkers, so he's indigenous. Hey, we have a demonic poison sometimes in our head. So when you're dealing with these skinwalkers, you have to understand that you are always 6 degrees away from death. And the first step is going to be that N-word. Oh man, you stupid, my nigga. Once that comes out, you're on the first level, because you're going to be, even if you let it slide, it's going to start coming out more and more. And once that happens, Neely Fuller says, always leave before the conflict starts. As soon as you hear that, all right, man, hey, I'll catch up with you another time, and just walk away.
Agreed.
No, that's why I love that, you know, we have created, because this is why I love men's content nowadays, because we have created a space where men can talk, men can, voice opinion, men can be civil, right? Respectful. You could show, this is why I love this panel, right? We could show that you could have civil discourse, you can have opposing opinions. So what, right? It doesn't matter, but you could show that
This is definitely a one-of-a-kind panel. You ain't gonna see many examples of this.
But another thing that I can tell is everyone listening to listen and not listening to respond. That drives me absolutely up the wall, because the person's just like, just waiting for you to finish, and then they're not listening to you the entire time, and they're just trying to get it in. And another thing too is this gotcha, clip culture too. Yeah. And that's why I can't stand these TikTok debaters where they have a mute button.
And that's why the other cultures won't speak with us. Yeah, because we always do that, and so they can't have because it's like for example, DA might be trying to have an honest conversation, and this panel has worked out, but I'm sure he was a little bit worried, and because as a culture, we love to get, and then all of a sudden, now we got the receipts. Now we're trying to get them canceled. Now we're on Twitter trying to have all and that's not really what men are doing. That's kind of the women's side. Yeah. So maybe he's happy that he doesn't have a lot of women viewers, but that's what we're learning that from women. Yeah. We're doing the same thing now in these spaces. We want that gotcha moment, like, see, I knew it. I knew you were, and it's like, no, he was just trying to articulate how he thinks. Yeah. That's all. He was just he was being honest. And when we get people's honesty, we flip out. When people are actually honest with us, I'm happy to have a conversation with a KKK man, because I know he's honest. He's told me up front, okay, I can hear what you said and take it or leave it. But the people who are the liberal types and smiling in my face and
stab you in the back,
I can't analyze that. I don't want to have a conversation with them because I know it's facetious. It's a fancy word. I'm proud of myself. It's facetious. and my papa said, don't be scared of a scary mask, because the scary mask is just, that monster just looks that way. It might be a monster, it might not, but you see what it is. Yeah. Be afraid of the human face that can mold itself to make it seem like it's on your side, when in reality it might be a demon. Skinwalker. He was real indigenous. He said skinwalker a lot. But it's true. Your skin folk ain't your kinfolk. And you might have actual people in your tribe that looks like DA. Your elders might be coming from someone who's white and trying to give you a message that your elders are trying to get to you, that it doesn't come from somebody who's brown skinned. So that's why when you said only look like me, that's why I kind of jumped on that, even though you said you didn't say only. But all four of us heard
like,
only.
No, I said people who look like. I didn't say only. My
Okay.
point is that there's a guy. He's a comedian, and he started doing like YouTube and Instagram, and then they had a thing where they were saying like, why do these YouTubers who try and do comedy, they're so bad on stage? And he said, well, because a lot of people blow up on YouTube talking into a camera, but they don't do the actual crowd work that like Chris Rock and all these guys grew up doing. So they're horrible on stage. This is the same with these TikTok debaters, where how many times have you seen these TikTok debaters go on a podcast and debate and get cooked because they're not used to actually being in front of a person and actually debating? You know what I'm saying? And
they're also not used to controlling their emotions.
Yes,
these guys are feminine and emotional, and you know, because we don't have enough of that masculine presence and that healthy patriarchal leadership, we've got a lot of underdeveloped young men who like women.
Exactly.
Yeah. But the other thing that that I was saying is that a lot of my friends would trip out when I said the same thing Berlin said, that if you can be a card carrying, white sheet wearing dude, but I at least if that, I don't respect your principles, but I respect the fact that you have them because I know where you stand, right? I don't agree with them, but I know where you stand. I'm from woke Seattle, Washington, all right? And I realized at a young age that the liberals, story time. I was in a European history class when I was a junior in high school. I was one of the only black kids in the class. There was like 33 black kids in my high school. My dad's a doctor, right? So my parents made good money. This teacher goes, well, AJ, we're going on a field trip. So if your family can't afford it, maybe we can do a payment plan. I'm like, my dad pays more in taxes than you make in a year, right? But because I'm the only black kid in the class, you assume that I'm poor. So this whole thing where people act like liberals aren't racist, right? They think all Mexicans are illegals. They think all Asians barely speak any English. They think all blacks are poor. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense, So, but all right, Dia.
All right, man.
Good panel, man. Keep up the good work, buddy.
Thank you. Check out AJ's channel.
I'm definitely gonna sub. Read your super chats, man. They paid. You gotta do so. You gotta read your super chats. Man.
I mean, one of the things like it's whiskey. The guy's crazy. He's crazy with this stuff, right? But yeah, I love this comment, right? And this is what I love. All the panelists here seems to have critical thinking skills, and that's what I want us to promote, right? I want us to talk about that, where we actually sit down and have conversations and talk to each other and understand each other, right? And be respectful of each other. None of that. And I agree. Once people talk about the N-word, is like you're just showing that you don't care. You don't care, and you are being emotional, right? Like Phil said too. And one of the things that we have these kids raised by single mothers, right? And they all they have is emotion. When men teach their kids, they teach them how to control your emotions, right? And women, they just let it go.
Can we actually say we have a black community if we have so many of the men dealing with child alienation?
Yeah, this is there's no actual men.
No. Until we address Sorry, go ahead. You guys haven't spoken in a while. My fault. But real talk, we that has to be addressed.
No.
Men have to get. Yeah. Oh man, you glitching again, fam.
It does have to be addressed, but
we want to hear you. I swear we do. It's just you glitching, fam. Phil, save him.
Can you hear me now?
I wish I could, man.
With your good Wi-Fi.
You're going in and out, my brother.
Artie, you gonna have to hop on the LTE, brother.
Yeah. You're gonna
My
finish
bad,
your
man. I don't.
finish your thought.
It's the. I just want to say this real quick. I'm actually getting ready to get off. Hopefully you can hear me. But yeah, I love the panel. DA. If y'all can put like y'all channels in like some type of way, I wonder like watch y'all content if y'all actually make content. But to AJ's point, especially
I
AJ.
do.
But the last thing I'll say on it is yes, we have to do something about this situation. However, I'm on the fence of it's triage. I have an idea that we're going to drive down the street. We're going to drive down the street in an ice cream truck. We're going to put on the side of the ice cream truck. Hey, if you are black, you are between the ages of birth and 25 or under 30. You want to be good. You want to be good. You don't drink. You don't smoke. You don't delete babies. You don't do this. You don't do that. You go to school. You have a plan to do something in your life. Sign this paper right here. Somebody's gonna get in contact with you, and we're gonna get you out of this situation. But until we can come to that standpoint, until we can physically do that and actually group these people up who actually want something good for themselves and take them out of there, then we're gonna circle jerk here forever.
We
Because, like
need
you
a
said,
really good
the,
party.
the,
Hey,
the,
That's only going to
hey,
work
man,
if we do it.
don't come for my ganja, man. I'm sorry.
no,
Marijuana
I'm
and
not. No, no,
women.
I'm not on the ganja. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
No, it ain't that, because I'll talk here
I
and
know what you
there,
mean,
but
though. Yeah.
it's more of a class thing where you have to identify the people who have class, because class is the only thing that really separates us. Like, we can be different skin tone, we can come from two different parts of town, black, white, or indifferent. So our physical makeup isn't the same. So me and DA, for example. He's got a Johnson, I got a Johnson. His height, I'm my height. But one thing that we have in common is that we're not going to go out just robbing. We're not going to go out just taking from somebody. We're not going to go out doing degenerate stuff. Now, we may not have families, like a certain amount of families. We may not even have productive families. But what we have in common, me and him, is the character, which I just call class. I'll put that all encompassing of class. So we need to identify the blacks that have class. However, again, I don't have the answers for these. I just have the how we supposedly get it. Once we identify the ones who have class, we're gonna group them up. Slap stickers on their forehead with numbers. We're gonna call y'all back, and then when we get our land, when Bro Berlin gets his land in his reservation, I'm gonna call y'all. We're gonna set up a meeting. We're gonna get a bus like they do. You going off the military, and we're gonna get you on our land, and then from there we're gonna teach you. When you're a newborn, we're gonna raise you. We're gonna have you fed with the right stuff. When you're 10 years old, we're gonna teach you how to build something. When you're 13, we're gonna teach you how to respect, like how to actually defend yourself. When you're 18, you should know how to do something on a computer. You should know how to fix a tractor. You should know how to breathe. You should know the women, same thing. When you 5, 6 years old, we're gonna teach you how to cook and clean. All when you 10, we're gonna teach you how to pot and grow some fruit and all that. We're gonna teach all of that. But until we can get to that point, I feel like we're going to unfortunately circle jerk around how to go about it, because everybody, like you said, everybody is physically against us. We have everybody against us. We have the government against us. We have most of the people in the community are physically against us. We have the churches are literally against us. So I just don't know how we get to that point. But I just wanted to say that love y'all boys. Take care of y'all families. Look forward to meeting y'all maybe one day. Hopefully I'll see y'all at the top. Shout out DA, shout out AJ, shout out you Phil, shout out Bro Billin, shout out everybody. Shout out to everybody in the chat. And the one last thing before I go, if you are somebody that's in the chat and watching this type of content, realize that if you are on the same playing field, you don't have to make content, but what you should do is learn how to not learn how to, but feel encouraged enough to reach out and just get conversational rooms with people who think like this, so that whenever there is a time that there's a evolutionary growth, or you never know kind of what circles you'll be in. So you don't have to like have somebody's phone number or something like that, but do feel empowered enough to speak to people, do feel empowered enough to actually try to look in on somebody's course, looking on somebody's book, look on somebody's content. If you do want to donate to somebody there's a cause that you believe in, whether it's black, white, or indifferent. We're not over here on the color side of the game, whether that person's black, white, or indifferent. Look into doing that. Like I said, take care of yourself, and peace and love to y'all.
Thanks, thanks,
Same to
Artie.
you, same to you, brother.
Yeah.
We're
This is
all
the first black person I've ever seen named Artie, though.
We'll let Phil get in some words, and then we'll go for a ruthless, my brother. Any thoughts, Phil?
No, I mean, I'm just at a point, man, where I'm just grateful for the conversation. I think we've got
Yeah.
a good group of guys here. And yeah, I just appreciate the space where we can come and collaborate and just exchange ideas. I think there's a lot more commonality than we might have even, thought when we first started talking. And so
Of course.
it's been great, guys.
Yeah.
Don't you mess it up, Ruthless. He came in with the name like he gonna jack this all up. But he got his black hat and his lion behind him. I got faith in you though. You gonna keep it. We gonna keep it cool.
What's your thoughts, my brother?
Don't have no faith in me. But I just want to say that I always advocate you to come on his lives every day, so I just come to introduce myself to him in person.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yeah, you remember you do. I mean, a few times you give me some shout outs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, my brother.
Let me pull up. Let me give a face intro. Let me put a face card on it.
I love it. I'm gonna do more of these call-in shows. So definitely, I want you guys to, anytime you guys see, definitely I want you to step up, right? Because I said this, right, where I honestly believe like this whole conversation is about, we don't have enough. And I said this where I think the Black community is the coolest community around, and we don't have enough men of any color, right? Good moral men, good intellectual men, good smart men, just having a voice, right? We always hear women, we always hear the worst part of our communities talking, because usually the worst part of our communities are, always on the spotlight, and we don't have enough spotlight on good men. Right, and I think that's the problem. Definitely in the Black community, there's not enough good men at the forefront. We don't hear enough good Black men. Right? I mean, we don't hear enough good men, regardless. But definitely, as tonight's conversations, right? Tonight's live, we definitely don't hear enough good Black men where they're morally sound, they're intellectual, they have an opinion. So I love it. I'm thankful you guys for joining tonight. You guys are amazing, right?
I will give this tip. If you want to do more panels like this in the future, I think when you ask people to cam up, it makes them not get too trolly and start saying, because when your face is showing, I think people end up kind of behaving in a better way. When it's a bunch of avatars, then you're going to get a lot of people talking in ways that they wouldn't talk if they were being seen. So if you want to keep it kind of peaceful, I think by having your panel members cam up, that way they won't, because if you won't say no shit that's out of pocket when the world can see you. So I think if you do have people cam up, then it will kind of eliminate some of that troll energy.
And also just kick the trolls out. I mean, it's going to be pretty apparent if there's a troll in the mix, just get rid of them. I don't see any point in allowing that to go on for clicks and views.
No,
true,
and that's the thing with
I'm not calling you out, Phil. Phil, I've been on panels before, and I've always noticed that when people is a bunch of avatars, it's about to be a shit show.
Absolutely, no, I agree with you.
No, that's why I kind of just like my small community where I believe the people who watch my stuff, who even pay attention to me, are good men. I've said this before, where I don't support all men; I support good men. So. That's how I go about them. So, I mean, I love this, right? I don't want to take up all you guys' time. I mean, what do you guys think? Any other thoughts and opinions? I mean, we start with Phil, right? Where you had respectful disagreements with some of my views. I mean, I definitely, if you have any more, I definitely would love to talk about it.
Certainly. I mean, I'd say, man, based on this conversation and reflecting, it's not so much that I just disagree with you. I think what I wanted to do was more have a conversation around how we're contextualizing the problem. I think making sure that the right Black people are having a conversation in a way that's meaningful and productive, and that we're not just castigating the Black community or painting the Black community with one broad brushstroke. But no, you're a good guy, bro. And I think you've done a great job moderating this and pushing the questions in the right direction, and just making sure that everybody gets their ideas off. So I appreciate that.
But I do have something I just like to bring to the light. So I'm reading your title. You said black men on the problems of the black community. I think that's pretty normal, right? I just think, what community doesn't have problems, right? Maybe black people might just be more louder because the way we do things is a lot more forward. But we just see what happened to, in the white community, right? We just got gunned down. So this is every community has their problems.
Yeah.
Right? Every community has their problems where people are getting deleted to the point of, the whole country's divided on politics. It's just the way of the country, right? The way of the world. There's always going to be bad communities. Problems. I would say, not that I'm saying wrong. There are going to be problems in everybody's communities. Period. Black people are just a part of their own problem. White people are part of their own problem. Asians, come on, they delete each other every day, right? I live over here by a lot of Asians, right? And then you go into the casinos.
You're glitching too, man.
They be looking for Asians, delete nations, right? They got it wanted for, So we all have, and if you go to Long Beach, you got the Asian gangs over there beefing hard. So I'm just saying, it's the Mexicans against the Mexicans, right? Remember, just keep going on that line. We can list.
Bam, you're glitching. Maybe if you turn your camera off, you'll come in clear. But you're glitching. Fam, you're glitching. We can't hear you because you're chopping in and out.
Can you hear
Not
me?
really. That's why maybe you need to turn your camera off and maybe it'll be clear.
Camera off?
Yeah, because All right. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so the numbers tell the story of the world, right? There will always be a minority of degeneracy, no matter, since the beginning of time. This would never change. Then the rest, there'd be a minority of rich people. This would never change, right? And everybody else is going to be average. This is, I'll say average earners, or we'll just say in the middle, right? They're not going to, meaning they're going to live just a basic, ordinary life, nothing extraordinary. So that's just, degeneracy is just something that comes with being human. That's never going to go away. It's never. I don't care if you have 2 penthouse versus 1. If you look through history, the numbers has always been a minority of people who are going to rebel to do what the hell they want to do, what they feel is best for them. You got other people who's going to be wealthy, right? Some generational wealth, some going to get lucky. It's going to still be 15%, and everybody else is in the middle. And everybody else in the middle pretty much is not running on degeneracy, right? It's pretty much running on fluency of survival, maintaining, and economic efficiency.
You think the majority? Would you say the majority of our middle in the Black community is operating like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, listen,
and you would say,
yes,
and you would say,
Black community, I'm from the mud. I'm from the mud, right? Minority.
No.
Majority of every Black people coming up in the poor community, majority of them go on to be accountants.
No, sir. No, that's not true. The majority. No,
majority of Black people are average.
That's true. Yes, but you said accountants. I'm
just saying. I just named. There's many more different things. I
name a couple of different industries.
Yeah, it's more than that, Broken Bird. I'm not trying to get all it. You want me to sit there and write it all down? What I'm just saying is, majority of Blacks are average. Period. It's just with the Black community.
Okay, and majority of Black women are average, correct?
Yes.
Do majority of Black women feel that they're average?
No.
Then that means we have to fix the ego death that we have.
No. So I'm just giving a baseline, right? We understand that nobody's perfect, right? We all have our ego, we all have our flaws. Mm-hmm. Our women have our flaws. Those men have our flaws, right? So
we don't address our flaws.
Yes,
that's the issue.
But that's a whole other show, another conversation.
It really isn't. No. That's part of this conversation.
Well, I'm just speaking to the topic, right? When he says,
so am I.
The problems of the Black community. The problems of the Black community is just like every other community. It's just
no, it's not. Our issues are vaguely different from other communities.
Let me say what I'm saying, and the nuclear weapon. We just are, maybe we're just a loud minority, in my opinion. In my opinion, right? We're a little loud. I admit it. You know what I mean? It's a little, you know what I mean? You can run the news. You know, we're doing some extraordinary gunplay. That's, you know, I would say, and that people are enamored with, right? So, and if you look at the, you know, the movies, right, the music, a lot of people are intrigued with the way the black communities, I say degenerates operate, right? People really even pay to see this. Must see TV. But white people have the same problems. Asian people have the same problems, et cetera, et cetera. Mexicans, there's just as many Mexican gangs.
But not to the degree that we have the problem, sir.
Yes, they do. Yes. They're deleting each other.
You think Asian community has a violent problem as much as we do in our community?
Yeah. If you like, for example, right, the minority, and it's still a minority, but let's take Long Beach, right? Let's take Long Beach.
Yeah, sure. Let's take one city.
Right,
but
there's several more cities I can name. I'm just putting it down like this. Where there's Cambodians, there's Vietnamese, right? They beef with the Mexicans and others, and themselves, right? They are just as violent on any given day as any black person is. It just black people, we're just louder. It's like for some reason we just get more attention for the things we do. But they got gunners.
Because our numbers are way higher than their numbers as far as murders within the own community.
We're still all a minority, though, is what I'm saying. See what I'm saying? We're all a minority.
I really don't see what you're saying.
All degeneracy is minority, not majority. So
wait. All degeneracy is a minority.
As far as, you know, the thing like gang banging, selling drugs.
Is sexual degeneracy a minority?
There is what? Say that again?
Is sexual degeneracy a minority?
Sexual degeneracy? No. Is there a such
thing? You can't say all these.
Well, actually, let me think about that a little more. I need more clarification. Sexual degeneracy. So are you talking about grape?
No. I'm talking about. Look, the 7 deadly. I'm not Christian, but I can understand the 7 deadly sins and how prevalent it is in our culture: lust, vanity, lust, greed, wrath, salt. Again, I'm not Christian, but I analyze enough to realize that the 7 deadly sins are prevalent.
Okay, so
in our culture,
let me help you out. Right, sexuality or sex is part of how the human race is to go forward, right? So babies have to be born so they can take over the next generation, et cetera, right? So that's just a normal reproductive stage of human beings. Now, the things that people are participating as far as being freaks or, you know, as those manners, that's really
sexual degeneracy.
Well, I would say homosexuality would fall in that, right?
Probably.
Okay, and then I would say, so they're the minority.
But I said sexual degeneracy, meaning our love of lustful culture.
No. Okay.
Is that not? That's the majority, correct?
No, right. But I'm just saying, but that's just how we are built as humans. You can't get around that.
You're glitching, man. I do want to have this conversation, but you are glitching.
I would say this, where what he was talking about with the you know, the bad parts of the community is always pushed out loudly. Right?
That's true.
The you know, like probably like the sins part. All the sins part is very loud in the community. Lust is incredible. I mean,
and celebrated in the community.
Yes.
That's the issue. It's not like it's loud and we want to maybe change it. It's loud and we wear it as our identity.
No, I agree. That is the problem that we are facing.
Well, actually, that's not a problem.
Really?
Okay, break it down how it's not a problem.
See, we it's so much nuances here, but we ain't got time for all that.
You said it's not a problem. Make it simple. Like I'm a 5-year-old. How is it not a problem?
So let's take violence, correct? Let's say that's the number one. Right? Let's say people delete each other. There are some things that are just maybe justifiable, maybe unjustifiable, but We don't really know all the stories to it, right? But we do understand that violence is the way the world is maintained of civilized, as well as, you know, way we respect each other, right? People respect people who are violent. People respect people who are violent more than people who are non-violent. That's just facts, right? So I mean,
That's
so
not.
now,
How are you saying that's a
I'm
fact?
saying,
That's not a fact, sir.
So this is why the police go to everybody's house with guns to get that respect, right? They ain't going to your house without no pistols, right? Because they understand they want you to.
Are you speaking? Is this on a global scale, or are you just speaking about America?
And the police will take you out.
Are you speaking about America or on a global scale?
On a global scale, any cops.
No, then that's not true. No, that's not true. Police don't go to your house in every country with guns.
So what I'm saying is, well, let's take it on America,
sir.
Right?
Police don't go to your house in every country with guns.
What I'm saying is,
so then it's not.
Right? When they go to
I'm sorry.
house,
say it again. What?
When the police go to your house and there's a problem. Let's say America.
Yes.
Let's America.
Okay, so now we're keeping it in America.
Let's
no
keep it in
problem.
America. Okay, so in America, when you're pulled over, that cop has that gun showing, right? When they go to the house just to solve small problems, they're still armed. Because it's
Damn, you're glitching.
Hell, I'm just trying to explain. You keep on interject.
You're glitching, fam. Sir, you're glitching.
What I'm saying is the threat of violence maintains a certain amount of respect. That's what it does, right? Sometimes it's breached, but most times, yeah. So we look at the degeneracy from a perspective of the outside looking in. So when we see things, we don't really know what's going on. We just see the outcome and just make quick judgmentals, right? Like the Diddy trial, right? We saw the Diddy trial. Oh, he's this, he's that, he didn't come to find out. The U.S. attorney was just making up shit, right? But anyway, right? All I'm saying is degeneracy is a way of life. It's another way around it, right? Pick your point.
I would say this is like, I'm not saying I don't disagree that it's not part of life. I do say that the problem is that we put it to the forefront, and particularly in the Black community.
Right?
It's the most popular thing.
Italian mafia, Mexican mafia, make billions of dollars. People. Nobody wants to hear about the good guy going to work, coming back, going to sleep. Nobody wants to hear about that shit. Nobody cares about that. He won't even get women. Right? Women. His wife disrespects him. But I've heard you talk about, right? The average guy who is making a good 60K. He comes every day. He's bringing flowers. He's that dude, and she disrespects him because people. I know it sounds a little rough, but people respect idiocy more than they do normality, and it's just a way of our society. That's why rappers sell more music than R&B singers who sing about love and hope. Right? Nobody wants to hear that shit no more. You put on some song about love song, people in the car say, "Hey, we want some ratchet shit." So the community speaks in what their money spends. Right? Degeneracy is well celebrated. Right? People, if right now you take broke and burn it up, right, and say, "Hey," right, versus Charleston Wright. Who do you think people are going to pay to see you? They're going to give Charleston Wright, and we know he's center of chaos, right? They're paying him $10,000 to $20,000 just to come and speak that chaos. And guess what? People love it. People want it. People crave it. So degeneracy is actually more loved and embraced than mediocrity.
So degeneracy is not the minority.
Well, the degeneracy on who's able to execute it on a physical level is the minority, but those who embrace it and champion it is the majority. So
degeneracy is the majority.
For the consumers are the majority. Those who consume it, they don't necessarily. They go to work every day, but they spend their money on listening to gangster rap, and it's like they might not go out and actually do it. But my point is, people look.
But if they get triggered, they will do it.
Well, yeah.
This is when we have the term crashing out. It might be a dude that's a fairly good dude, but then all of a sudden he gets triggered by something, and then all of a sudden he crashed out, and then looks back after the fact like, "Oh shit, what have I done?" Because he got triggered. Because he did.
As his wife, cheeks clap in their bedroom. He snaps out. You have to. We would probably say, "Okay, I'm cool with that," right? So we got there's too much to that for you just to say, "Oh, well, a guy can get triggered." Anybody can get triggered by circumstances or situations, and who knows what that might be, right? Right. So we understand that. We just see what happened to, wasn't that Charlie? So we understand people get triggered. But what I'm trying to tell you is this world consumes this stuff, and this is what they crave. They don't crave people who are doing good and the right thing. Nobody really wants to hear about that shit. Nobody really cares about it.
So it goes back to my original point that you said degeneracy is a minority, and it's not.
It's the execution of it. Yes, it's the minority, right? But it's this is why the black degenerates are out the loudest, but they're not the majority. Most black people are average earners and live average lives.
That is
probably
true.
it's probably a
That is
conundrum.
true.
Huh?
It's probably a conundrum where, probably it's the minority that is perpetuating it or actually doing it, but the majority is consuming it and I guess perpetuating it.
Right. So
and the majority is only a triggered away from also being part of that said.
True.
Listen. Okay.
Well, that's anybody.
There's many times. Okay, let me. All right, go ahead, Phil. Well, no. Give me 15 seconds.
Finish your.
Okay.
Finish.
You have a fender bender in a car accident. Nothing major, just a fender bender, and you get out, and that person is so mad that their car got hit that you are already on level 3 of altercation. Because that person is triggered. He's angry that, forget the fact that, oh man, let me get out the car, let's exchange insurances and then go about our day. No. In our community, the majority of us do not handle it that well. And I'm just speaking about a fender bender, an accident.
I don't think that's true.
I don't know about that. I've seen a lot of white people get road rage. I'm just saying, right? A lot. So now we're getting into emotional triggers versus degeneracy.
Yeah, we are not. We need serious classes on an elementary level from childhood about de-escalation. And I've been a bartender my entire life and seen. Look, we as black people will say one thing, but when we are in party mode and have alcohol and spirits and marijuana in us, that's who we end up having these. So when we're in that vibration, it is a pro. What's up, man? What
let's let Phil. What is his thoughts?
Yeah,
like I get where you're coming from, Berlin, but I think that context matters, and to your point, the trigger matters too, right? Like, if you're consuming alcohol and drugs, and yes, you're going to be more easily triggered. But I think what I'm looking at is just, again, the average working black person. Like, if you even look at labor share statistics, black people have a higher labor share than any other group in the country. Like, they're working more hours longer. Actually, if you look at the statistics, it's crazy. Like, I'll pull it up.
Black people are working longer hours than the Hispanic community in America.
Let's look it up.
The black people are working longer hours than the Indian people, not Native Americans, but Indian people in America.
Hold up, give me 1 second.
I'm just trying to make it logical. I don't know. Look, statistics are very strange. I keep it very logical. And a lot of times statistics that people will try to bring up to pull up as a fact are not facts. So here I understand you're about to try to pull up a stat, but let's just.
This is better to
does that make sense to you?
So just let me break it down, bro. So today, like I literally was looking at this the other day. It's according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2023, the black labor force participation rate was 62.3%. Which is higher than whites, which was 61.5. So I'll definitely.
Okay, what about the other groups? What about the other groups?
Yeah, let me finish my statement, bro. Because I'm editing what I'm saying. I was incorrect by bringing in other groups, right? I was pulling it off the top of my head. But in relation to whites, right, we actually have a higher labor force participation. I don't know what it is.
That I believe.
Related to other groups. Now, with that being said, we're workers, we're working, we're grinding. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't a constituency within our community that isn't doing that. right, that aren't productive. There are people in our community that aren't productive, right? But I do think that we don't want to, again, have bias or like a fallacy where we're taking like a smaller percentage of the population and projecting that onto the entire group. I think most Black people are average. Most Black people are working. Most Black people are trying to better themselves. That's reality. There's like a small percentage, even when you crunch the numbers, it's like max 5 to 7% of Black people are committing a crime any given year. And again, 0.024% of Black people are engaged in like murderous activity. So like I just want to make sure that we're not like painting a picture that's not accurate. That's all.
What was my scenario? I said a fender bender, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I said that when we get a fender bender, instead of, and this is as a culture, instead of it being, oh man, damn, let's exchange assurances, and let's do it from the woman's side. When the women have a fender bender, do they get out?
I'm in a car with a Black woman who got a fender bender, and it was
okay. That was it.
It's like we can't.
I'm
we're
speaking
not
about majority. I'm speaking about majority.
We're not in the majority of fender benders. With the people that are in the cars, there's no way for us to make that assumption, bro.
Why can't we?
There's absolutely no way.
We can't see.
I would say this, right? I would say this. I would not necessarily say race specific, but I would say this: we are growing in more violence. I would definitely agree with that.
I would agree with that.
I agree with that because I've heard plenty of fender benders. Yes, maybe even Black or white, doesn't matter, but I think we are growing in more violence than ever. So I don't disagree that the problem us as a whole is that we're not learning to de-escalate things, but I would say where it doesn't help as minorities, where we are violent towards each other. I would definitely say it never helps that.
So
would you say that? Would you say that our culture has seems to have a harder time de-escalating than other cultures?
Depending on the context and the economic class of the people, yes, absolutely.
But let me say this: I think we could estimate or correlate with in logical guesstimation, where I believe that, let's say we have in the Black community a generation that is just purely raised by women. Well, that would lead to men and women in the Black community being more emotional than actually logical. So more people would, if you have to guess. I mean, I don't think there's actual statistics on this, but it's all assumptions and guesses. Where most likely they would be more emotional. Which
this is where I have to get in, right? Because I'm out the mud, right?
What does that mean? You're out the mud. Wait, what does that mean? You're out the mud. What does that mean?
I'm from that ghetto. You want me to say it out? Let me spell it out for you. Ghetto.
Oh, it's different. It's different.
I said, what's the mud? I said, what does that mean out the mud? You acting to seem like I'm supposed to know what that means.
I'm clarifying my experience and my expertise in dealing with the most degenerate part of the Black community, right? For most of my life at one point, right? So what I'm saying is to be there and live it, to understand majority of stuff is not emotional. I don't know why we keep saying that, right? Men, we're soldiers, right? We can take people out.
Soldiers in what war?
I'm not trying to
soldiers of what war?
I just want to break this down. I'm gonna break it down.
Words mean something. Soldiers of what war?
Bro, let me finish.
No. Soldiers of what war?
I'm just gonna answer the questions for you. If you let me finish.
You said we're soldiers. Soldiers of what war?
Can I finish my statement? No.
We're not moving past this. Soldiers of what war? Soldiers of what war?
All in context. So you just listen, right? So we
soldiers of what war, sir?
I'm gonna give it to you. You're gonna have patience, right? You gotta have patience.
Yeah, finish your statement, bro.
And the answer is going to be given to you. So largely in a Black community, for let's say the poorer class, right? So you got our gang members, we got our drug dealers, we got drug users, we got robbers, thieves, right? So this pretty much breaks into our community, right? So a large amount of these crimes, which are violence, right? Let's say robbery, it has nothing to do with emotions. This has everything to do with somebody trying to take something that don't belong to them, and it goes bad, right? Or gangs have wars with other gangs. There are soldiers, right? Crips had their soldiers, Guns had their soldiers, the SS got their soldiers, right? So there's big wars going on down here. And so what I'm saying is we men don't need to be emotional to execute a violent mission, right? So I'm just clarifying. For repetition of clarification, this is why the United States.
So there's a lot of word salad and it's not making sense.
Listen, this is why the United States.
I'm trying to listen, but this is a lot of word salad that you're spitting out.
It's not very simple. Men can't operate.
It's not simple. You are not making this simple.
It's very simple. Men can operate in logic and take somebody out. Simple, right? So my man said it's emotional. It's not emotional. A lot of it's there are some emotional strikes, meaning
if you just took somebody out, you're telling me that's not emotional.
That's logical. We don't have to be emotional to do that.
Well, you got to think about its context, right? It's always context. If let's say if you're doing a political, professional, whatever hit, maybe it's not. Maybe it's a job thing, but violence, in my honest opinion, is most of the time emotional. Violence, it's like 90%, if not more.
So if you have a sniper, emotional. If you send a sniper on a mission, right? It's not emotional, right? So
again, sniper on a mission.
It's not emotional. It's logical, right? We can take people out without being emotional. We can.
Do you think that's the majority of our?
I'm just breaking something down.
Never mind.
I'm good. What I'm saying is there's no way to quantify that. There's no way we can quantify. Well, who was he? Was he emotional or was he logical when he took him out? We don't know.
Well, but more than likely in our community, he was emotional.
That's opinion. That's not facts. Because unless you were there and went through the whole process, you could not make that assessment.
Why can't I analyze it and make that assessment?
Because you don't know what's going on in that person's mind. Hard to know whether it's emotional or not.
So the judge who puts him in jail. Wait. The judge and the jury that get to put him in jail for that crime, they aren't in his mind. Do they not get to punish him?
Okay, but that has nothing to do with emotions. That's what I'm talking about. Right? I'm talking about I can take somebody out and not be emotional, right? I can take you out and not be emotional.
Sure, you could, but that's not what happens the majority of the time.
If somebody gives me, there's news good, you can give them $10,000. You give them $10,000, and they come take you out. It has nothing to do with emotional. It's business, right? So that just substantiates that. So my point to you guys is the black community, in my opinion, we are loud. I give it to you. We're loud.
If we're loud, does that not mean we're being emotional?
No, that's just the media. It's more pointing on us, right? But
no, you said black people were loud. Does that mean we're being emotional?
We're only in the middle of something that's very known. We got the Aryan Brotherhoods, we got the Mexican Mafia, we got the Southsiders, we got the Armenians, and these dudes are doing just as much as we are.
You are not connecting the dots that you think you are connecting, sir.
What I'm saying is all of us breed the same violence. All of us do the same degenerate things, right? We do. And we're just, for some reason, because of the way we do it, people are enamored with it. They, for some reason, they're like, oh, but the Armenians are just as deadly as any black guy I ever met. Italians, the same way, right? They're Aryan nations. They're very dangerous, right? And they hurt people. They take each other out every day. So degeneracy is it's American way. Period, right? It's every culture has a subset of degenerates that take the other degenerates out, or even sometimes innocent bystanders. This is just clear across the board. There's no disputing that. So don't try to act like black people, we're the only ones that's doing this. It's just the way of the world. And, America steps in, and it's a big deal more so because they put the court cases on TV, and you only see that. And you think, oh, well, it's only black people. That's delusional.
Well, no, I mean, here's the thing where let's be focused. No one says anything about only, right? We're not saying anything about only, but we are focusing on, what is important in particular communities, right? So no one's going to say only, we're not trying to give like straight up clear facts, but we're trying to make logical arguments and a more logical conversation. So I really want us to understand that. So, but let's give some stage to My brother, whiskey. Any
Can you hear
thoughts?
me?
Yes, yes.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
At least you know what I look like now.
I do. What's up,
Right.
my brother? Any
And
thoughts for tonight?
I think this is a good chat because everyone here has like critical thinking skills, and perhaps that's what separates people. Perhaps that's what separates us from other people. We have. Isn't it nice to be talking to people who have critical thinking skills?
Yeah, I mean it's great that let's just have a conversation, right?
Right. Yeah.
Let's not take anything hard. Let's be respectful, and it's all good.
Right.
At the end of the day, we're just talking. We're just
We need
know,
critical
you know,
thinking skills and good Wi-Fi, though.
Right.
We need that combination.
And
Yeah.
learning about people. That's
Yes,
a good thing.
Yes. But you know what? I want to Phil. Any thoughts? Any words too?
Nah, man. I think I got my ideas off.
All right. Well, I mean, let's see. I don't want to take you guys on forever, right? It's almost we've been on for a while now.
I mean, if you keep it under 3 hours, it's actually really good for the algorithm, and you're right, 4 minutes away.
Yeah.
And then that way you can clip up some of the best parts of it. And it's easy for you to maybe upload some parts of the conversation that maybe you want to have a deeper conversation about in the future.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
you gotta do the bartender trick. Like you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the heck out of here.
Yes. Come on. Let's. You guys are amazing, right? Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for letting us have come on. I'll go ahead and get out, and you guys continue. I'll be in the chat.
Berlin. I mean,
you
must do a lot of live streams, right?
I will. I just got enough subscribers to start going live today, so I finally will start going live from now on soon.
But you kind of know the etiquette of live streams, where if someone super chats, the host of the super chat has to read them. Actually, read them. If the host doesn't read them, it's kind of an insult.
It is, and it also makes people not ever want to give super chats again. That's why I was trying to
correct. Right. So, DA, you're not the greatest at that because
it's his first one, man. It's his first time doing it. Hey, it's his first day. You got
I do read them when it's usually just me. I don't really want to interrupt other people when they're talking.
No. Interrupt. They're the ones paying for the show. Interrupt everybody to read this. As soon as the super chat comes up, stop everything and read it.
Well, you can wait. A lot of streamers they'll wait, and then at a certain time says, "Okay, I'm gonna read all the super chats."
That sucks though. It's better to if someone pays, read it right away, and maybe even divert the conversation a bit if the super chat is worth it.
Right. It generates conversation.
I definitely, I mean, I want to have more call-in shows, so I definitely will.
And then another thing I've noticed that streamers do is if they have a panelist on like Broken Berlin on that's adding to the company's been on there for a long time, I think they divide the super chat money among the panelists.
I'm retired at 43. I'm good. It's okay.
Right.
I'm retired and a father. I'm my alchemy is great. I don't need it.
But just think if Devil's Advocate got to be really big, he could be pulling in a lot of super chats.
I don't ever think like that. I don't even think like that. I'm glad for the small community, so I'm good.
It's possible, right? So
who knows?
You have all these panelists on that contribute to the conversation, and it'd be like they're like it's their their labor with their thoughts. If I ever,
that'll be in the future. All right,
don't do
thank you guys. It's all good. I love you guys. Thank you, brothers. Right? Thank you, all of you. Right? Phil, Berlin, Whiskey, Ruthless. Thank you guys for stopping by. I love you guys. You know that? You guys are amazing. All right, Phil. Thank you for starting this. Thank you for.
Appreciate you for having me on, man.
Yes. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. I love you. Whew. That's it's nice to have a panel show. I don't have it many, or I never had this many, so it was an amazing thing, right? Berlin, I'm gonna put your let's see. Let me see if I could put your channel. Check out Berlin's channel. All right. I love you. You guys are amazing. You guys are amazing. All right. Check everyone out. Check everyone out. You always click to go to their channels. It's all good, man. It's all good. I'm just glad you guys are here, right? So I love you guys. What is it? Red Door was here. Poor man, Berlin. Well, in the future, right? In the future, let's in the future, definitely when you get up and running, come by and we could promote your channel. I don't mind promoting other people's work because it's not that big of a deal for me, right? I love it. I love you guys helping out, so being there for me. So I definitely want to show some love back. So you guys are amazing, right? All right, you guys, I love you guys. Ooh, what a long channel, what a long live. All right, guys, love you. Later.